Kitten Features, and you're listening to Show X Live with Ken in his student accommodation all the way in Scotland, and Wade in his white windowless van? Uh-oh, I better get out of here. Enjoy the show!
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Show X on VTWProductions.com. You're listening live at 2 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. GMT on this Sunday, the 2nd of December, 2018. We are in the last month of 2018, everybody. How's it going? How are you doing today, sir?
That's mental, isn't it? Isn't that crazy?
I can't believe it. Well, it's one of those things, right? It seems to slip past us every year how fast things occur. And so, it happens. We're here. There we go. So how are you doing today,
I tend
sir?
to judge these things by the news and by meme calendars. For those who don't know, a meme calendar, I'll throw it into the Twitch chat, kind of looks like one. Like, here's a know your meme page for it. So it's the most popular memes in a certain time period. And I think anybody who looks at memes frequently will recognize a lot of them and be able to judge how long ago that was based on the memes.
Oh, gosh. I'm so bad at this because I am so not memey.
Oh, well, I follow quite a few pages that are dumb on Reddit and Facebook. So, for example, the ones in January there's the Logan Paul stuff where he found that corpse, right? That was January in the Japanese woods. We talked about it on the show, I'm pretty sure. In March, I recognize the I don't know what the bloody film is called, but it's that it's a Minions related thing where that dude has the whiteboard thing and he's saying like, here's something that happens, here's something else that happens, there's something else that happens, and he looks all surprised that people use that format for a bunch of different memes and stuff.
Gotcha. Yeah, so I see a lot of them come out, but I'm looking at least the calendar they were showing here. Because that's 2018, right? Okay. And
yeah, that's 2018.
Yeah, so the only one I think there's the Choppers one in April that I'd seen a bunch of. The was it Orange County Choppers where the two of them were yelling at each other?
Mm-hmm.
I've seen that one. The one in May where it has the guy going on the whole like, is this whatever? I've seen that one several times. Beyond that, I'm looking through them, and I don't think I recognize much of any. I don't know if the one in September for Bowsette is actually like just the Bowsette thing, or
I don't know. I like in May we've updated our privacy policy because the European GDPR policy came into play, and yeah, that was everywhere suddenly.
Well, yeah, when every website suddenly had to tell you like, "Hey, I'm going to track you. I'm going to look at you. I'm going to do things."
Yeah, look at how much information we steal from you. Also, there's I'm on Thrillist.com, and they have an article about the best memes so far this year. They have January had Tide Pods. Do you remember that whole thing with the kids eating Tide Pods?
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think that did enough to actually reduce the population as such. Not quite enough Darwinism as I would have hoped.
Yeah, well, yeah. And there's a lot more, right? You can Gru, that's the name of that guy I was trying to think of earlier with that popular film animated Gru. The royal wedding was earlier this year. We forgot about that because that happened. That was a thing. What else happened? We had the Olympics, right? We had Olympics this year.
Was that this year?
What kind of Olympics was it? Yeah, the Winter Olympics was this year. Pyongyang. Yeah. It was held in February this year. Yep. Which is crazy, right? That feels like a year ago.
I was going to say, it's hard for me to actually relate that happened this year. So, yes, there's a bit of like, oh, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In a way, hopefully that's
how I judge time.
Well, hopefully that's a good thing, though.
Elon Musk smoked weed in September. That was a thing. I remember that.
I know, but that was like a who cares thing. That one was it kills me because I've seen so many people and so many things come out talking about how people were really worried about that and how it affected the stocks and just all of these things. And I still don't understand why it was a big deal to anybody.
It's interesting, right? It's not the actual, like, who cares? Like, people smoke weed every day. Like, It's not a thing. The point is that he did it openly. It was on Twitch or something, wasn't it? He
Well,
actually
no,
just
he
went
did
and
it on
in
Joe
front of-
Rogan. No, he did it on Joe Rogan's show. And as he did it, because I watched the clip from it, I've seen a few things from Rogan. I follow a lot of things that Elon puts out there. And he basically, they had been talking for quite some time, and they were having alcohol, some bourbon or something like that, some nice drink that they were sipping on. And then at some point, because Joe Rogan's a huge advocate for weed, so he smokes on his show all the time. But they're out in California, wherever they're at, it's legal there. And so it was one of the things where, he basically passed it, was smoking a blunt that he had and passed it over to Elon like, hey, give it a shot. And Elon kind of took a moment, looked at it like not sure. And then he commented kind of the whole thing like, well, it's legal here, right? It's legal, right? And he was like, oh yeah, no, it's totally legal here. He's like, all right, I'll take a little hit, kind of thing. And so he just kind of takes a hit. And I really only think he smoked it like just a little bit. I was just like, okay, hey, and that was it. And for some reason, stockholders and people around the world freaked out over it. Like, he was suddenly making such a poor decision. It was going to end the way Tesla or Solar City or any of the brands are going to do something. It was
nothing
dumb.
to do with anything. It's got nothing to do with like his ability to be a leader or a CEO or a board member or anything like that, right?
He's just as nutty, weed or not.
People's image of him in stock markets, right? Stock markets have nothing to do with the real world.
True.
They have everything to do with people's perception of the real world.
And
if they perceive that, if somebody perceives that now Elon Musk is some drug addict, some drug-addled sinner.
Well, but that's the thing, right?
Sells their stock because of that.
Even though he smoked it, how does it change anything from what he's been doing? I mean, it maybe adds to the story. Some people are concerned with that. He's been a bit, not off, but unique lately. That he makes a lot of comments on Twitter that are a little out there and stuff like that. I think kind of fun. But so many people take it as though it's like his real impact on the world. He'll make jokes, and I'm assuming Elon has to be one of those awkward people. He's not as alien as Zuckerberg, who acts like a robot. Yeah, he's not. Yeah, exactly. But at the same time, he's super smart.
Hello, humans.
So those are some of the better memes I've seen. Stuff talking about Zuckerberg is kind of like, oh yes, I smile now like the humans do.
Or allow me to consume water like these bipeds do, and then it dribbles down his chin or something. Yeah.
No, those have actually been more entertaining to me than most things. But yeah, I never got why people freaked out over what Elon did. It was just like, whatever. Oh, hey, in the chat, Games of Wrath, how's it going? Does this mean that you figured out your computer issues? I saw some posts on social media of one of our folks, Wrath, having computer challenges and not knowing what was going on. And so seeing them online, I'm hoping that means they've got it sorted. But also, and we'll see, earlier saw that Octale had joined us in the chat today.
Hey!
So awesome to see you, sir. It's always good to hear from you, especially pre-show and also. Yes, good to see. But yeah, no, that was just one of those things I was like, why do people care? All right, as we're getting into things, we might as well go ahead and start out with, we are going into
dysfunctional deviations.
And as we're here in our dysfunctional deviations. So, Ken, everything been good?
Yeah, things are good. Busy as always. So I've mentioned before, I kind of have 3 jobs right now, or 2 jobs, and I'm a student as well on top, of course. I think of it as a student, not as a student because it's paid, and I do a lot of work. So I tend to think of it as a job, right? But in reality, I'm a full-time student, and I've got 2 side jobs. One is teaching at the university, and one is teaching at a university-affiliated institution, technically. And they're both completely different jobs. It's not like I walk into one classroom and then go to a different classroom and do the same thing. In one, I'm a teaching assistant and I help out with the teaching. In the other one, I'm the module coordinator, the examiner, the teacher, the lecturer, everything else. So they're completely different. And so this week and next week are the last weeks of classes and of exams, and all the tests are being handed in, essays are being handed in. There's 2 major tests in the module that I'm in charge of next week. So I've got 2 giant tests to prepare for, and I'm probably just as stressed, if not more stressed, than some of the students in my class. Getting ready for this, trying to make sure everything runs smoothly, make sure I haven't done anything wrong, Like, like there's anonymity concerns where they're not allowed to put their names on the papers and stuff. And I had to make sure that's printed correctly. I had to make sure that the test papers are all printed on colored paper so that we meet the Equality Act of 2010, etc., to make sure that any students with color blindness aren't disadvantaged or whatever.
Wow.
There's a whole bunch of stuff that we got to think about, right? It may seem fairly basic, right? Oh, I have to use a different color printer, but when you're rushing around trying to get things ready, it's quite easy just to hit print and not think about it.
Well, so
also, even designing the exam, etc., I need to think about the size of the fonts and the spacing, and it's recommended that we don't use like italics or bold or underline. We just have it the same throughout, so it's similar. So people who have like dyspraxia or dyslexia aren't like affected as much and stuff like that. So there's a lot to think about.
Then how do you provide emphasis on things if you want them to to give them help guide someone on a test with bold, underline, or italicis?
So I have kind of fought my case on this. In computing science, there's a lot of words that I would use, which I would not italicize, but I would have in sort of like a basic looking font, like a consolas type font. So it looks like a computer command prompt output, right?
Yeah,
so if I have a word
it matches
like
a terminal
string
window.
or integer or variable or something that kind of implies it's a jargony word or a computing related word, I'll have that in a different font. And that's so far been okayed because I argue that it's probably better than not having it because it implies that's what they would see on the screen, right?
Yeah, no,
so
that makes total sense.
No.
That just it kind of hurts my brain in some ways. Just do you have like a template or design document or something you can reach to tell you all those things? Because I'm in the world now of scripting and trying to do things to minimize your challenge. So I would like to be able to open, my test template page that is already the correct fonts, the correct layouts and kind of thing, so I can just submit it, do it, versus having to think about that every time. Ay.
Yeah, we've got a bunch of templates and stuff, and that's quite useful. But in the end, you can easily still automatically without thinking revert back to the way you think is aesthetically pleasing. But that's not what's important, right? It's not supposed to look aesthetically pleasing. It's supposed to be readable and accessible to all, and that's a different thing to get your mindset behind.
It is.
So I've been doing all that. It took a while to get all that done as well, rejigging all the documentation to meet requirements. So I've got all that done. Tests are all ready. They're printed out and they're ready to go for the examinations on Monday and Wednesday. So that'll be fine. And I've also got a butt ton of marking. So I actually offered to do additional marking this year. I shouldn't give the exact number away. I don't know why, but I better not. I had 60-ish essays to mark this past week.
Okay.
And it is an interesting format because it's computing science. We have the ability to ask them to do things like a wiki page, and that's what we're doing. When I say that this is an essay, I mean an equivalent to an essay.
Okay.
What we really have is a wiki page, which is a bunch of pages they can write and they can add HTML elements to, which explain something. And in this case, it's like a 4 to 5 person project where they explain things like privacy on the internet or data protection or things like that. Okay. And I have to go around and mark all that. And it's quite interesting because some of it is, really interesting, well done. There's a lot of cohesion. Other times there's a one that might have, I don't know, somebody was clearly AFK for half of the for half of the term and so didn't get as much work done or whatever. Some people go with a humorous approach to the wiki page where it looks more like a BuzzFeed page or something, and then others do the complete opposite. It's interesting. You never know what you're going to get.
Gotcha.
So I've been enjoying marking those, but it takes a long time. And I honestly, the estimation for how much time that it should take was something like 3 hours, and I think I've put like 12 into it so far. Like it's been nuts.
Well, that's one of those
I'm
things.
not done yet.
Well, that's one of those things I think anyone who's doing anything around education, you got to give them props for. I was just, was it yesterday? It's amazing how time flies. No, it was Friday. That I went to a friend's birthday party who is a teacher, and I guess she's working in elementary right now, because most of the people that came out to her birthday party were also teachers. And so for me, I only knew the birthday gal and one other friend from the past who's also another teacher. But I had met them through when I was dancing West Coast Swing and stuff like that. But so at the birthday, It was basically a bunch of teachers is pretty much what it was at elementary school. And so it was fun for me to sit there and interact and ask them about things because I cannot imagine dealing with other people's kids, and especially at those ages where it's like if they did
I was gonna say
something
that
off
age
the wall,
especially. I wouldn't want to do that, man.
I would have such a challenge not wanting to beat someone's kid down, because oh no, I realize one of my deficiencies in life has been my ability to deal with kids that are probably barely into teens and younger who act poorly towards adults, who don't show respect and actually are quite terrible. Because I've had situations throughout time where that's happened to me, and I have wanted to just shake the life out of a child for how they were acting. Like, who allowed you to be like this?
It's really the parents you should be shaking, though, right? I mean, like,
but they're not the one in front of me.
Screwed up.
Well, and so it's that, and I've caught myself basically, and I've told the story years and years ago of a gal at a water park, this young, probably 13-year-old who was cursing us out as a group of adults because I was telling their, one of the kids in their group not to cut in line since we had all waited in the queue.
Good for you for calling them out. Well done.
Well, yeah, it's just like, dude, wait like everybody else. And they were like, oh, and this little girl just went off on me. Like, how dare you bleep and tell someone's kid bleep and bleep. I was just like, oh, heck no. And so I never feel good about the situation because I realize I reverted to their level in a way.
Oh, no, okay, yep.
Basically cursed them out back like, look, you little blank, right? It's like...
Yeah.
And that was where afterwards I was like, I don't feel proud that I couldn't contain myself in, but just she hit a nerve like a weak point of me that I was not prepared for. And I mean, this was years ago. This is, near a decade ago or more. But it still stings in a little bit of like, I wish I could have just maintained my cool and just kind of properly told them like, well, child, I'm sorry that you don't understand how society expects you to interact, and it's unfortunate that your parents didn't do the right thing in raising you so that you could meet, our expectations. I don't know, something.
It's a tough thing because you don't know where the line is, where it becomes their own responsibility and where that is the parents' fault. I mean, in the end, a 70-year-old will still act in a certain way, almost majorly due to the way their parents raised them. Right?
In a lot of ways, it's just a basis, but everyone at some point, and I will blame it to when you become an adult. When you are legal in whatever country you're at to do all the things adults do, you got to take some ownership for how you interact with the world and the decisions you make. And at that point, it's no longer your parents' fault because you have enough information to see the world and actually make some, more informed decisions. Or at least I advise to go look beyond, maybe just your social media and just what parents have taught you to fact check some things for yourself. Anyhow. But I digress from that. But yeah, it was just really interesting being at a party talking to teachers. And so I respect, and I throw it out to you as well, Ken, anyone who can take the time to build a curriculum, to check papers, to do all those things that we want educators to do to make sure that we're getting the information we need. And I really do respect that. And I was talking to them because there was representation from 3rd through 6th grade, I think. And they were all the kind of teachers who teach everything. Although the gal who I went to, she's a math teacher primarily. And so it was interesting for me to ask them those things because whenever anybody asks me about my job's boring, so we don't even get into it. But I was telling them just like, it's fun. They were all talking about then the next day having to go out to do a 1.5 mile run event with the kids in the morning. And then that evening hosting their like elementary school dance and stuff like that, and having to be chaperones as teachers, and like all those things, right? And I'm just like, man, it's because
the thing is, all those things are just expected, right? Like it's a case of like, oh yeah, of course the school's doing that. But do you think the teachers are just do that between the teaching hours where they're paid?
Well, that's the thing,
they
right?
organize all that in their own time.
It goes back to the whole thing that teachers are constant, right? They are always working. It's not like they just get off at some point and they're done. They have to do so many things beyond the regular hours. So it's more like a salaried position throughout a year when you're a teacher than it is just 40 hours a week like most people. And that's the part.
And that's why I got annoyed at that one article. I think Octale could probably back me up on this because he had a lot to say about it. There was this games company who was talking about, we have to do so many hours of software development per week. And I looked at it, I was like, does not everybody work these hours? I thought this was just like the norm. Like I really did. I thought to myself, surely anybody who doesn't work in like service, where it might just be like a 9 to 5, and that's fine. You go home and that's that. Like my old job used to be like that, right? I get it. I used to do exactly 40 hours a week, and that was it. Um, but I thought to myself, but surely a lot of jobs that have some responsibilities that quite often that overlaps and you take it home with you, right? I mean, I didn't think I was unique in this way, but the way that this developer made it sound is that we were like the oddities of society. But the more I see it, I'm like, no, most educators, most researchers, most scientists, most in STEM
well, there
will
are
take
a
it home with
lot.
them, right?
There are a lot of jobs that absolutely that's the case. However, I know, like with mine, I'm fortunate I can't take it home with me. Ha! But
Yeah.
I work 40-hour weeks. In fact, that's pretty much the expectation is only 40 hours, always 40 hours, never anything deviant from 40 hours for my schedule. And I do know a lot of people who still, like, because especially here we have labor law stuff and things you have to worry about where if you work more than 40 hours, you better be getting paid overtime, otherwise it's illegal.
Oh, we have rather good coverage of these kind of laws as well. We absolutely do. Like the UK is good for employment law. In fact, I can talk to you a lot about it. I mean, because my research is based on scheduling employees through AI in the UK, right? So I know a fair bit of employment law in the UK, and I know fine well that if you want to work, I think it's more than 45 hours a week, you need to sign a waiver saying that you like give away your human right to an extent. And
Wow.
however, there are certain jobs where that's not, you don't need to do that. For example, certain emergency service jobs and the military, for example, right? Like obviously, if you're in the military, you can't be like, "Oh, it's past 5. I'm not going to shoot the enemy anymore."
No,
Right? You're there.
it's funny, but yes, there's a lot to be said about how I don't know, like you're kind of getting into just how different jobs operate. And yeah, because I have certain expectations for mine. There's been times where I have absolutely had to come in. Back when I worked other things on weekends, on nights and stuff for special events, things like that, all the time, but. Oh wow! Octale saying that article was based off someone who from Rockstar on Red Dead Redemption 2 story team saying they worked 100 hours per week. Now I will say I have been, and even in my own job I've had opportunities where I've had to adjust my schedule to satisfy real world concerns, things that are happening at that moment that you have to be there for. And so like I can understand with software deployment, especially when it comes to releases and things, when it's uh-oh. Was that me or Ken? It looks like my Skype just, like, freaked out. So let's try to bring that back. That was totally, like, me. Sorry about the audio coming through from Skype. I need to, like, change that to turn off the ring. But... Ken, are you there? Hello? Mr. Cancer. Uh-oh. I don't know what happened, but we have lost the Ken. Oh, looks like he's trying to come back. Oh. Yep. So, what I did there is I actually made sure to... I actually uninstalled the app version. Yeah, I did that just because I was like, you know what I don't want to have happen is me constantly clicking the wrong one, especially because they've essentially made it, what did I say? They have made it so they almost look the same now. And so, well, yeah, because they're actually trying to push everybody over to the other, and so it's so in doing so, yes, I've absolutely had that issue, and it's funny because I was trying to. I just went into add remove, and the app version of Skype is the more square icon versus the actual standalone is the circular one. Stupid, right? Stupid. And so yes, that's a thing. I have, issues with it as a whole. And so, oh, jeez. But yeah, no, it's a thing. Yay. Anyhow, So as they're saying, yep, because it's an extra 40. Well, so it's an extra 60 hours. Jeez, so it's more than that. Because is it just? Oh my gosh. Well, sorry. It's hard for me to translate because I normally do 10-hour days, but in doing so, I only wait. Ow.
Yep.
Sorry, that was my fault. Yes, I'm the only one who could hear Ken. Sorry. I did the mute thing because of the calling. I put it back.
Sorry.
Nope, that's my end. This is why, and I'll get into it later, where I have been working to update the stream. And Ken, we need to bring your light down just a little bit now, or I don't know if it did it again.
Did it do
but
this thing again?
You're not as bad. Your exposure's a little high, but otherwise you're fine. You just look more white than normal.
I don't know why it keeps just saying itself.
I don't know, sir. Let's see if I can. As we drop Ken again, and we'll see if we can bring him back. And it's all it is. And I'll get into this once we get back with everything in here and stuff, and we get into the Geek Cred stuff. I was going to talk about some of the stuff on the show we're trying to do to make it better so we don't run into these things anymore. But at least you can hear us this week, and it's all there, and the background music and all that stuff. So that's always nice. But let's see. No, and that was... Ken was actually sounding fine for a change, but his camera, for whatever reason, keeps resetting itself. And so it's suddenly doing this whole, changing his look and feel and making him look all blinding to us. And so that's part of the challenge there. All right, I want to... So I'm trying to decide if I wait for Ken to call me or if I just call him back and say, screw it, this is how we're doing it. All right, so... Whoa. I will just try to add him and see what he does. And I apologize for the sound here. I'm going to turn that off. I'm going to turn off his while it's ringing because I need to figure out the setting in Skype to say, stop telling me that I'm calling someone or that someone's calling me. WTF. It's that part is annoying. And in all the settings, I have yet to find where that one is. Oh, now he's calling me. Ah, there we go.
It forced me to reinstall. So
Skype forced you to reinstall. Great. That is bizarre.
Yep.
That's no fun.
So I apologize.
No, it happens. Things happen. So, well, I'm going to play around here because what we have, as was, talking through things is, let's make this a party. Why not? Since everyone's up and about here. So I'm going to see if we'll see if it happens here.
Menage?
Oh, hey. Almost like a trois.
Almost.
How goes there,
it's a
sir?
Menage. It's a menage a 2.5.
Yes. Menage a audio trois.
Yeah. Yes. What do you call it, audio trois?
Oh, I love to audio trois.
I'm not even up. We're not going any farther. Not going any farther.
No, that's good.
Oh my.
How are you doing today, sir?
Awesome. How are you? Well, actually, not awesome.
Uh-oh.
No, I had a bit of a panic.
Oh?
And so it was sort of battle stations for a little bit.
And not the good board game style.
No, not the good battle stations. No, sadly not. I am traveling back to the United States on next Wednesday, December 12th. And nice. I had just traveled to Berlin for a systems engineering conference with some oil and gas people.
Oh, nice.
And I had my passport for that because I was traveling to Germany.
Nice.
And so I had my passport with me, and then I started kind of looking around for the stuff that I'm going to take with me to the States, and all of a sudden I couldn't find my passport.
Oh
no.
And there are only 3 places where I put my passport.
I was gonna say, I know how
passport-
this works. I have one place
Yeah.
that's like, this is where the passport goes every time.
And my passport was in none of those places.
Ooh.
So I started to panic a little bit
Yeah.
and
Understandable.
started looking around the places where I thought I had put my passport. And I don't know if this happens to you, but it certainly happens to me. I start to get less and less, what's the word? Sane.
Calm.
with the places that I look.
Oh no, I have
Um,
a major thing about, and I've told people this is just how my mind works, that I'm a kind of a hoarder, or at least I have a lot of crap in my house and stuff, but I can almost always tell you exactly where everything I own is at any given moment
Me
in
too.
time. No matter
Me
how
too.
cluttered and crazy it looks. And so what kills me is when I do go to look for something and it's not where I expect it to be.
Exactly. So I
Oh.
start to get less and less rational with the places that I look.
Yes.
So I have one of these. We have this white 4x4 sort of square shelf unit that we bought at IKEA.
Okay. Yes.
Back in the day when we had an apartment the size of a matchbox
Nice.
instead of now apartment the size of a shoebox.
Hey.
No, I just our apartment. Is
Yeah,
really
no,
awesome.
I got you.
But so this 4x4 bookshelf thing is in my office now, right next to my computer, and I started looking in between the boxes of all the video games and the books and stuff
Yep.
that maybe I put it in there. And then I started
course.
looking on the floor, and then I started looking at the desk that I was using at our old apartment that Miriam is now using for her, using as her desk. So when we play PC games together, she
Yep.
uses that, and went looking through there. And then I went looking in the bedroom because sometimes I have this old, it was an internal hard drive that I converted into an external hard drive with one
Okay.
of those hard drive conversion kits.
Yep.
So I have an old one of those. Seriously, I think this drive is like 11 gigs. That's how old it is.
Jeez.
Wow.
I was suddenly thinking like, wait,
See?
what?
See?
You have a massive old thumb drive that
I
happens
love
to
that
be
you kept rid of
plattered.
that just in case.
And, I have no idea what's on it. I haven't plugged it in like, I don't know,
I can-
15
I can
years.
tell you what's not on it. That's Windows 10 because
Yeah,
that
it's
wouldn't fit on it.
Windows 10 not on it. Also, maybe the original Unreal Tournament is on it from 1999. That might be on it.
So it's funny is I actually want to look where I think, is this it? Because I think I destroyed the enclosure at some point. Maybe I didn't. I might still have it. But I want to say that this drive that I'm holding in my hand, this 3
Yeah.
terabyte drive, is
Yeah.
actually the external that held all the original both Show X and like Octale and Hordak vs. the World
Ooh.
archives.
Very nice.
I want to say, I think it's what I
Very
keep
nice.
under my desk here of all places. But
So, speaking of old ancient hard drives, I bought a computer when I was in college, so 1990,
whoa.
1997, 1998, right?
So it's funny
And
you
it
say this,
had-
and that's a desktop because there's no way that was a laptop back then.
No, it was a desktop, but it had a hard drive that fit one of the 5 1/4 inch floppy drive bays.
What?
Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And I ended up formatting that sucker and giving it to a coworker of mine who was just a sucker for weird form factor on
Because that's
electronics.
massive. It's
Yeah,
ridiculous.
it's the old 5 1/4 floppy drive, right? That's the bay it went into.
Yeah. Well, so
So
that's,
all the hard drives you get today are going the 3.5 inch.
yeah. Well, now the 2.5
inch
inch,
big.
the 2.5 inch for the SSDs.
Yeah,
such,
or,
right?
or less.
Well, no. So it's
Right.
funny because I've actually been, and I'll get into Go Geek Cred stuff about hard drives and stuff lately because I had some of the first Velociraptors from Western Digital. They're
Yeah.
the 300 gig drives. And what I come to realize what those were now, those were SAS drives that they had put a regular SATA connection or kind of enclosure and stuff onto. Because when I pull them out and look, they are these tiny, 10,000 RPM drives that are basically the size of an SSD. For being 300 gigs. So they were just SAS drives that they made a controller built into it so that people could run them with regular SATA bus. And so it's weird because those off kind of things, because I also looked and the form factor does not let them plug into normal connections. Because I was looking like, maybe I can pull this out of the massive 3.5-inch heat sink that the drive was in, even though it's a 2.5-inch drive. I was like, what? Anyhow, so yeah, no, that's really intriguing to me just to always hear old tech like that, but
yeah. So it's that was a weird hard drive. Speaking of hard drives, my data drive on my computer, which was 1.5 terabytes, just started to flash red.
Ooh.
When you call up the when you call up my computer, so it's within 10% of being full.
Oh, gotcha. The full.
I have 100 gigs left of 1.5 terabytes. I'll never fill 1.5 terabytes. Ever.
I don't like to have that discussion anymore because I recently added a 5 terabyte drive for gaming to my main computer.
Ooh.
Because if I discuss it right now, I have my boot drive is a 1 terabyte NAND drive. My programs, files, downloads drive is a 1 terabyte SSD. My main games drive is an old Black Edition 2 terabyte Western Digital. My fast games drive was my first 1 terabyte SSD I had purchased. And my new drive is a 5 terabyte Toshiba I think I have in there just to put all my other games on so I can keep them open. Because I was down to I was red on 3 of my drives before I bought that new slow gaming drive.
Wow, nice.
I am ridiculous with storage, which also will go into why I'm doing hard drive stuff recently. For anyone who's seen my social media post. But we were talking here about your passport though. So we've made it so far as finding old gear and stuff.
Distracted. Oh, see, we did.
I'm still curious because we went through IKEA shelf. We went through finding the old, external hard drive and such to the trek to find your ability to leave a country.
I'm searching around on the floor underneath the dresser that this hard drive is sitting on that I put things behind because that hard drive is so out of place that it always looks weird, so it draws my eye.
Gotcha.
That's like, there's an important thing.
Oh, no.
So I looked, and again, I started looking on the floor in under the third place where I would put it, and it's not there. And then I started looking in drawers, and I started looking in different places. I asked Miriam where she keeps her passport in case she saw a passport.
And maybe put them together. Yep.
This is a passport, and just grabbed the one and put it away. And we found it. It was hers. So,
she's good to go.
She's good to go. What had happened was, after I got back from Germany, I got a gift card for my birthday for one of the float therapy places in Oslo. There are
the zero
2 or 3 of them now.
Like the isolation chamber type, or?
Oh yeah,
nice.
Yeah. To come full circle to what you were talking about on Rogan, that's how I heard about it.
Oh, gotcha.
Well, it's from Rogan's podcast because Rogan's got a float tank in his house.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So I went and floated, and in case I needed to validate my identity because it's just my name printed on the gift certificate,
yes,
I took my passport with me
because it is a valid ID in all cases. Yes.
Right, and so I took a change of clothes because in the course of doing float tank, which we absolutely have to talk about at some point, in the course of doing float tank, you take 2 showers. And so I brought a change of clothes. It's like I didn't clean myself off before going to the float tank thinking I'm going to take 2 full showers in the course of doing this float tank, so I'll just change while I'm there. No big deal. I put the passport in my pants and then tossed my pants over the top of a hanging rack.
Right.
And it fell back down behind that rack.
Oh no.
So when looking on the floor around the dresser, because the rack and the dresser are adjacent to each other, and in between on the floor, I see this little dark thing with a white patch in the approximate area of where I stick my luggage slips.
Yep.
You know when you put the
so
slip on the
lucky
luggage.
that you found that, dude.
I know.
Oh my
Well, tell me
gosh.
about it. I had the website up for the American Embassy in Oslo, and was considering calling the emergency number, or I was going to have to call them on Monday.
I was going to ask, because what does it take to get a new passport in that case? I mean, here you run into the things where if I need to expedite a passport, right, I can pay extra money and get it within like a month. But it still takes like a month to get a passport, so I can only imagine.
The little bit of research that I did, there is this thing called an emergency passport. So in case you have to travel for like bereavement or something.
Gotcha.
And need a passport to get into the United States that way. It seemed like the turnaround on that was pretty quick, but they only last 3 months.
Gotcha.
Whereas the regular issue passport lasts for 10 years.
Yeah, big difference.
And so I was going to have to get this emergency passport, I think, and then I was going to have to re-up it in the first couple of months of 2019, which is going to add a
pain.
Well, and so it goes a layer deeper, because I am done with all of the things that I need to do to apply for permanent residency in Norway.
Yes.
But one of the things that I have to do to apply for permanent residency in Norway is list all the times that I have traveled since I moved to Norway. And they want proof from your passport.
Oh gosh, the stamps and everything.
That you've traveled outside of Schengen, essentially, when you said you did. So,
gotcha.
Like, as soon as this passport went missing, like, all of this stuff is in play, and I'm literally thinking, like, okay, what do I need to do to get a wrecking ball to start looking in the walls for this passport? And and then it turned out to be okay, and then I found it, and all is well, and everything is good and happy and right with the world.
But what's crazy to me, and I'm okay right now listening to it, but in a way I am feeling that bit of anxiety itself, just because we talked about that I know what that feeling is to not know where something is. It's like, it should be here. And I've had that happen with IDs. I've had it happen with credit cards, things like that, where, you know, because like one of the things, I have a corporate card for work and stuff that I use only on trips for work, and I always put in the same place. And the time that didn't show up, and I was like, but I have a work trip to go on. Things like that. I sympathize in so many ways, because
Hey, so remember when our work cards were Amexes? Oh God, so good. So good.
What is it now? I won't even say, but yes. No, that's funny. No, I'm glad it all worked out, because I do understand that stress. That's like,
me.
Oh, so bad.
Me too. Like that was from full on coronary to like, okay, now I can relax and I'll probably sleep tonight. Like we ran the panic, and I do this. There's a pretty infamous story from when the Mistress of Giggles, and I guess I've called her Miriam a couple of times now, so I'll just do that. When Miriam and I were going to meet my parents in this town called Wendover, Nevada.
Okay.
And we were going to drive from Denver to Wendover, Nevada. So you go west through the mountains.
Yep.
You cut the corner to catch the freeway going north. You go through SLC, and then you go west through the rest of Utah, through the Salt Flats, and right across the border with Nevada is this town called Wendover, and it's 4 casinos and a couple of gas stations and a nothing else. So we're on our way, and we get to the middle of Pig's Knuckle, Utah. And the low tire pressure warning light on my car goes on.
Oh, no.
And I went, oh crap. And like, what's going on? It's like, we got a low tire pressure warning light. It's probably not a big deal. We're only a couple of miles away from this town called Price, Utah. We'll just limp it into Price, Utah, and then we'll figure out what's up. Then I started to hear road noises.
Oh, no.
Like really loud road noises. Nope, I had driven over a 2.5-inch long bolt.
Oh!
no.
And shredded the driver's side rear tire on my car.
Man. Oh, no.
Okay. So no problem. When I bought the car, because the deal that we had through work, I got the roadside assistance and all of this crap. So I dial a 1-800 number. They call the nearest Ford dealership, which is in this place 2 miles away.
Oh, not bad.
And they
okay.
arranged for the tow, and they tow me into the dealership. And the guy in the workshop looks at that car and said, "I don't have any tires for that."
Oh, no.
that takes ultra low profile tires. I thought you meant a pickup.
Come on, it's a Mustang.
Said,
those are
Said,
everywhere.
that's what I said to him. What part of Mustang says pickup?
I mean, come on. Mustang is one of the most sold. Okay, come on. F-150, number one most sold truck in the world, right? But the Mustang sells a crap ton. And you're a Ford dealership. Come on.
I can't believe a Ford dealership in the middle of Pig's Knuckle, Utah didn't have any tires for a Mustang. That's a little weird to me.
It actually does surprise me, yeah.
Okay. So we don't have any tires. We can't find anybody who has tires. Okay.
Yep.
Oh, and by the way, the shop's going to close up, so you have to get a hotel for the night.
Oh, that must be so stressful already. Oh my god.
I am tight-chested already, and the only thing in this town is the Walmart. There's a Walmart, a Ford dealership, some houses, and nothing. Okay. So, what are you going to do if you're stuck in Pig's Knuckle, Utah for a weekend? Well, I guess you're going to spend the gambling budget on a couple of Nintendo 3DSs, and you're going to play video games all weekend.
Hey.
Damn right, yeah.
That sounds like a good way to do it.
Which is where we were going, and I slept about 4.5 hours that night. We went to bed somewhere between around midnight. I was up at 5 a.m. looking at tire shops in Salt Lake City to find the right kind of tires so that I could tell the garage where I could go to get the right kind of tires. So just let me get out of here, please.
Right? Yes.
Okay. So that all happens. We drive up to SLC. We get the new tire on. We end up going to Wendover, and Miriam and I end up having a nice weekend. But we were supposed to be meeting my parents. So after the first bout of tight-chestedness, I called my mom, and I said, "Hey, by the way, we're going to be a little bit late to Wendover." And my mom said, "Oh, that's okay. We're not going to Wendover at all. There was a problem with the plane that the casinos in Wendover chartered to get people in to go gambling, and they just canceled the flight."
Oh, no.
And refunded everybody's money. So they were supposed to have this plane full of upper Midwesterners come in for the weekend, or for 4 days, 3 nights.
Yeah.
And this plane isn't even gonna be there, so I couldn't even meet my mom and dad.
Oh.
That had to have felt like one of those cascading moments where you honestly look at the world like, really, everyone?
Why? Why?
It was supposed to be a fun 4-day, 3-night kind of activity, and the least worst thing that happened is they found a problem with the plane, and so I couldn't meet my family out there. Right? That was the least worst thing that happened, and it was yeah. So
hey, at least you weren't on the way to a job interview or your own wedding or something, because that'd be way worse, right?
Ken, point well made. It could have been a lot worse.
Hey, we all have those.
I'm just saying things like this happen, and my mind just something clicks. I have a bit that flips, and when that bit flips, I go from logical, evidence based trained as a mathematician, as a physicist, job as an engineer guy, to the Incredible Hulk. Like I'm just a rage monster.
Oh no!
And that happens to me. And so
Yes.
we were there for a little bit today, and the Price Utah thing was a few years ago, and I was that way for like a day and a half. So yeah. Anyway.
Oh no, I do feel you. I what I feel like that is that those of us who generally are patient individuals, like you said, who think logically and are able to rationalize through situations, that when something finally hits that just peaks beyond the limit of what we're able to comfortably deal with, because it takes a lot to get me up to those stages, but when it happens, it's not good.
Done. Absolutely done.
Yeah, it's the old analogy of the thoughts of like, don't ever make a gentleman angry kind of thing. Don't take a person that is normally reserved to the point where they choose not to be or they can't help themselves, because they tend to go to a level far beyond what people are used to of those who kind of freak out all the time. So yeah, no, oh, do I feel that?
What I lack in quantity, I make up for in quality.
It's yes. I may not do this every day, but when it happens, ouch.
Yep.
So no, I feel that.
Exactly.
So we have this opportunity now that we have a wild Octale on the air. What have you been up to recently that has not been like crazy and out there and stuff? And you said you're coming to the U.S. Cool. But otherwise, geek and such and things like that. What have you and Mistress of Giggles been up to?
I'm playing Fallout 76.
Nice.
Yes, we shared your video today actually on our Facebook page.
I saw that and I like it.
So it's funny.
The Hive Mindless doesn't like it.
Oh no!
And the Internet's colon doesn't like it.
I am so happy that you're here to talk about that to some degree, because I have not played the release version of Fallout 76. I got an opportunity to get into the beta for a weekend and played it 2 or 3 times real quick and enjoyed myself in the short time that I had with it. And all I have seen since then, and since the release, has been this tirade of like negativity online about how Bethesda has just failed, in essence, with Fallout 76.
They have screwed up in a couple of fundamental ways.
Okay, the one that I have, and it's funny because I actually have an article that's slightly cheesing into geek cred, but the one that I will give credit for that's out there is Baggate. I don't know if you guys have heard of this one.
Yes.
So for those who are...
Yes.
Yeah, for those who are unaware...
Atoms or whatever, right?
But, yeah, 500 atoms. So there's a link to a Destructoid article, but basically saying that what was promised in the $200 pre-order whatever edition, right? The massive...
Tricentennial edition, I think is what they call it.
Everything. Which, and I've talked about in the past, I actually signed up for initially, but then there weren't enough on Amazon, and they reneged on some of the orders and stuff. But was that I did like the collector's edition version of Oblivion and Skyrim and loved the little bling you got. And this one was going to be massive. And so I was down for it. Give me a wearable helmet and all this thing. That'd be great. But the latest thing that came out, for those who know, this one says, holding the bag. In one of the weirdest controversies of the gaming year, Bethesda came under heavy fire following the launch of their open-world MMO Fallout 76. A lot of heat was directed at the quality of the game itself, which has left many fans and critics disappointed. And that's where we'll have Octale's opinion on here in a moment. But this glumness was only increased by the launch of the Power Armor Edition, there you go, which replaces its previous promised canvas duffel bag with a bog standard nylon replacement. And this is where the latest controversy came out, that they basically, Bethesda's response to people's concerns was that due to material shortage and such, they couldn't make the bags in the promised canvas, and so they instead went with what a lot of people are saying is a very cheap nylon duffel bag. However, on top of that, it seems that there have been several YouTube personalities or influential social media people who have received honest-to-goodness canvas bags and for free from Bethesda.
Funny that, huh?
And so there's a lot of questions as to what the heck is Bethesda doing. That seems awfully disingenuous to...
You can't defend this. Like I even said that in the video when I put it out on YouTube. It's like at the end, I can't talk about the nylon bags getting substituted for really good quality canvas bags. Like, that is a scuzzy business move, and I can't defend that. That's really bad.
Well, it's one thing to say, okay, when you're going to come up with an excuse to say that you had to do a shortage of what, which makes no sense because it's not like there's a shortage of canvas anywhere in the world that I've heard of. But
here's a
I
but.
didn't realize
Don't
that they were
give
going
the
bankrupt over this. Yeah.
don't give the hive mindless the canvas bags. Give them the crappy bags and give the people who spent $200 on the game the good bag.
Well, but that was the thing, right? You should easily be able to accept or work with what your pre-orders are for whatever your special edition is. And if there's a question of price, then up it $20. I mean, come on. At that point, when you're already asking $200 for a collector's edition, people are kind of going to pay whatever the hell you ask.
Regardless, it's a breach of contract in the end, isn't it? They've said we promise you this thing that you can pay for, and they didn't deliver. Surely that's a breach of contract, as far as I'm concerned.
You would think.
It would depend on, I mean, come on, lawyers are smart, so it depends on what they actually promised versus if there's that whole line of legalese at the end that said, you know, this offer is subject to changes based on blah, 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 right? So who knows? Yeah. But if nothing else, they're getting their desserts in this, in the sense that the public outcry is it's adding on. Because this is what's unfortunate. This is another thing that's sounding overall bad that says, Bethesda, you done messed up. But on the other side of this, as you're talking about, Octale, the game itself, though, sounds like at least for me, was fun.
Okay. Did you like Fallout 4?
Yes, not necessarily as well as 3, but yes.
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, I liked it. Nowhere near as much as 3, but I enjoyed it.
Oh, wait, okay. So, again, 3 and 4 did different things. Fallout 3 allowed you to do things like reverse pickpocket grenades onto people. And Fallout 3 allowed you to play sneaky, stabby, stabby, and power armor. Well, not power armor wielding, because you don't get that till the end. But, big guns run in amongst all the bad guys and just spray 5mm ammo everywhere. Or you could play the energy weapons guy and do the replicated man, like as soon as you possibly can, right, to get A321's plasma rifle, which is just boss. That's a phenomenal freaking gun. Like, Fallout 3 let you do all of those things. Fallout 4 let you do a different set of things. You could still play the sneaky, snipery, shootery guy. I wrote the article for Tech Raptor, gosh, it was 4 years ago now, about playing a character with 10 charisma and 10 luck.
Wow.
And 2 endurance and then 1 of everything else, I think.
Nice.
And the Idiot Savant build.
Yep.
Right? So you take Idiot Savant as soon as you possibly can. You build this Tower of Doom in the early part of the game, and you just rack up EXPs from building a base because of the chance to proc is based on your intelligence, and your intelligence in this build is 1. So Fallout 4 put you in power armor much earlier than Fallout 3 did.
Yeah, let alone making your entire collection of every shiny version of power armor you could ever hope to own.
That's the one thing I miss about Fallout 76. And I didn't talk about this in the video, but legitimately, the power armor chassis only exist outside of your inventory for a couple of minutes.
Oh.
3 minutes total. So if you drop a power armor chassis on the ground and don't do anything with it, you get a 60-second warning that says your power armor is going to be morphed back into your inventory.
Oh, yikes.
In 60 seconds. Well, okay, so the power armor chassis itself only weighs 10 pounds.
Okay, gotcha. The chassis,
all of the pieces of the power armor and the fusion cores that are in the power armor, so if you load that stuff all onto your chassis, they don't weigh anything while they're on the chassis. So the chassis just weighs 10 pounds, and all of the pieces of the power armor weigh 0 at that point. And so I have 3 chassis now. One of them's got excavator power armor on it. One of them's got almost a full set of T60 on it, and I think one set's got almost a full set of T-51B on it. But I don't like playing with power armor unless I'm going to play with power armor.
Yeah.
So I'm not into power armor at all. I'm sneaking around and reaching out and
You have
touching.
several power armors in your pocket.
Power armor in my pocket, in my stash. I got power armor chassis in my stash.
Nice.
So
power armor in your pocket, or are you just happy to see me?
Exactly. That's T60 power armor in my pocket.
Yeah, check out the chassis in my pocket.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Exactly. It's big guns build too, if you know what I'm saying. Wink, wink. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Sure, heavy melee, but okay.
That's right. Wait until you feel this, Merv, fat man.
Whoa. Oh gosh, careful! That gets everywhere.
It really does. It really does. Okay, so you guys liked Fallout 4. The gameplay loops in Fallout 76 are not that different from Fallout 4.
They're not. And honestly, this is something I'll throw out right now, because one of the criticisms I kept hearing from people, and this is even from the beta on, was, oh, this looks more like Fallout 3 than 4. And I wanted to discuss with people that preconception, because my feeling was, I always want to say, wait. Are you comparing Fallout 76 to base Fallout 4 and Fallout 3? Or everybody heavily modifies the heck out of the game?
Not everybody.
Well, even just high-res textures, stuff like that. Something simple. But
I don't mod my Fallouts.
What? You don't put on 4K textures?
No, the only mod for any Bethesda game that I have ever used, and I am not joking about this, is the Galaxy News Radio, more where that came from.
Oh, nice.
Mod that added like 80 songs to Three Dogs playlist.
I've done several that do just general thematic music that fits. Those are some of my favorite, because people have grabbed some amazing tracks.
How can you play the game without Thomas the Tank Engine flying through the air, or Spider-Man being in the game?
That's Skyrim. Those are the Skyrim ones.
I do not need that for my Fallout experience.
Yeah.
I take the opposite track. If you need to throw 50 gigabytes of mods onto a game in order to like that game, maybe you don't like that game in the first place.
And that's fair. Actually, no, but that's a good response, because that actually puts you better in track to be able to describe the honest progression of the game. Because I've always been a huge person for modding, where I would almost always mod any Bethesda game to the point where it breaks. Now, granted, mine have always been in line with the plot, and so it doesn't break the look and feel of the game. That's just me. I'm all about performance mods or things that actually I think expand within the world that they built, so it doesn't detract from the original story at all. Yeah, I hate the mods like Thomas the Tank and all that kind of stuff. I want ones that are all in it.
And Wayne, we all know that you are such a graphics head that you putting high resolution textures on anything is going to happen.
Yep.
Like I don't disparage you for making that choice. My point was simply that there was a whole bunch of criticism in different places that said, well, the community had a solution to this like 3.5 years ago. Well, one, I wouldn't know because I don't follow modding communities. Number two, I definitely didn't have it for the same reason as above. And number three, my game still plays fine.
Yeah.
So
because when you don't mod it, you don't break it.
If it's going to be if it's a quality of life thing that you're talking about, okay, fine, quality of life for you, not necessarily quality of life for me or for the majority, for everybody. And do what you do. But, for context, I don't care that the community fixed some graphical bug that's a problem with the creation engine that was fixed in 2016 by a community mod that still exists in the game that made its way into Fallout 76, and it's the same bug, and how could Bethesda allow this, and yada, yada, yada. Like, whatever, man. I don't play modded Fallout, so I can't help you.
Well, so...
Like, to be fair, that is pretty pathetic of them to have a bug that is clearly been made aware of and is well known and fixed by somebody else, then not actually implementing the fix themselves. That
Well,
seems
no,
a
no,
bit weird.
no. I do
That's not lazy.
understand,
That's laziness.
but at the same time, they make some epically large games with a. I can only imagine the lines of code in any of their games and what it takes to do. So
Yeah, but I know fine well what how the budgets work there as well, though. They have very much greased their pockets for years.
Oh.
Since before even Skyrim was thought of, they were doing very well.
However,
never mind anything now.
in defense of what Octale's
Well,
saying, I agree that even the games they've released when they're slightly bugged are complete amazing games with a ton of depth. That the fact that some modders who are honestly crazy enthusiasts take the time to address what they consider to be some broken things in the game and allow it for the community to take advantage of, I love that too. I am a huge supporter of the mod community. But I don't go back on Bethesda and say, y'all made a shoddy product. The only ones I will give them any fault for is anything that is game breaking. I can't finish this quest line because of a bug. Those are the only ones I'll give them shit for. And as long as once they realize, patch it and figure it out, I will give them a pass again. But
and don't misunderstand me. For the stuff that truly is broken, like in my video, there's a tire swing that's not attached to a tree. It's just out in the middle of a junkyard, and you can make the tire swing and the rope will swing, but the rope's not attached to anything. Like that's bad. The other one that I used in the video is a group of the main sort of zombie enemy, not called ghouls, called the Scorched. There's a group of Scorched that spawn inside a tent.
okay.
And you can shoot them through the outside of the tent.
But they can't get out?
So in the video clip, I'm vatsing them, using Q to open vats and snapshotting them. So Q right or left click, Q left click, Q left click. And I'm snapshotting them while they're in the tent, but eventually 3 or 4 of them break loose, and all of a sudden I got zombie in my face. Right? And these were level 1 zombies, and I think I was 27 at the time I was recording this. So it's not like I was going to die. But the point is that there's a problem with the way that the game spawns in enemies, in which it spawns in a bunch of enemies in tight clusters. And then there's weird. Another...
That seems like a very basic thing that they should have had fixed by now already.
And the other thing is the spawn location and the collision detection don't talk to each other by the looks of it. Because even if you were to spawn a cluster of enemies, it doesn't necessarily mean that they have to spawn inside of a tent. Like, they could spawn other places.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to be one to pretend I know what the design of some of these things that are that have been tacked on to Creation Engine in order to make Fallout 76 multiplayer. And they have there's a whole host of bugs and stuff.
Yeah, so, and I haven't even heard the details on most of those. So I would be curious what some of the legitimate negativity or legitimate criticisms that are out there for it, because I haven't played the release version.
And there are quests that you can't do unless you server hop to find a server where that quest hasn't been done yet. Because there's a named NPC in a hut that you have to kill, and if somebody's already been in there and killed him, and the respawn timer's not set up for that named NPC to respawn fast enough for when you walk in there, like he's just there. And it does not appear that these indoor areas are instanced separately from the overworld, shall we say.
Okay.
Just the regular houses and stuff. So if you go to a place
it goes to the random spawns, random rare spawns that you get in any MMO kind of thing.
Kinda, yeah. Excuse me, but so if this house were instanced, right, you swipe a key card, and the act of swiping the key card would trigger a fresh instance of this little hut. It's like 3 rooms. So it's not like it would take a lot of resources to have it spawn off separately. But it would, if you swipe the key card, it would spawn off its own set of 3 rooms with its own named NPC in there, and he's the only NPC in there, and you just have to shoot him in the face and take something off of his body, and then you're done. That's it. That's all you have to do. And it's not like he's a particularly hard NPC by the time you get down there following the main storyline. It's just, he's just there. You're just supposed to kill him. Because in storyline, spoiler alert, the overseer who you're chasing as the big MacGuffin for at least the first act of the main story, it couldn't, because they were involved in a relationship. Oh, so she couldn't kill her love, who turned into a zombie. Oh, so you got to do it.
Okay. Well, so it's funny. That's actually a good progression for me to hear, because I played enough through the beta that you do see that they leave. The story elements in Fallout 76 are basically all provided through, what are they called? The holotapes?
Holotapes, terminal entries, notes.
Yeah, story that is left in the world for you to experience. And that's actually one of the criticisms I had heard from a lot of people because of not having actual NPCs to interact with.
I love this.
Well, so it reminds me of old school, I don't know, name it, WoW, or even so many other games I've played where you read the stories, listen, because I love how they do it with holotapes, because I'll pick up a holotape, play it, and as I'm still running around, listening to the story. Mm-hmm. And they have good voice acting and stuff in there, so I get some of the look and feel and stuff going on with it as I'm now playing the game.
In the end, it's not as if they're being lazy as long as there's voice acting, right? I mean, if there's voice acting, that's enjoyable, and I think that can add a whole different aspect to it. But if
you're not just reading. You're not just reading.
That'd be upsetting to me.
No, it's some of the stuff is terminal entries, yes. Some of the stuff you have to read, yes. You get a lot more out of the story if you take the time to sit at the terminal to read the entries to find out what's going on.
So many of the entries of when you start seeing, because a lot of them, at least I only made it so far in the beta, but as you're going through and you get the initial sets of I forget the first main town you kind of arch out from, where the protectors.
What the hell's the name of the place? But the responders.
Yeah, the responders, where they first kind of you run into what they're doing and you kind of join the ranks, doing some of the little quests from there. But when you start reading what people are doing and you hear about how the world changed, right? How it first started out with just all the firefighters and police officers and people like that got together to help people in general. But then how so many things, it became its own entity and its own look and feel of how they were now the protectors and such. And so or the responders. And so it's, I think it's well written. I think it provides a great storyline from what little bit I experienced. And so I was kind of surprised to hear that negative response where people are like, oh, no, but I want NPC. It's like, really? It's still story. And for me, as long as the voice acting was there, and so the holotapes, I'm totally cool with it. Versus,
I'm gonna spoil my whole video. How many times in Fallout 3 was Moira Brown interesting? Once.
If.
Right?
Yeah.
You'd walk in, she'd say, "How are those little potatoes?" And then you'd shoot her in the head for being such an idiot. But you can't, because one, she's guarded, two, you don't want to turn all of Megaton against you unless you're going to blow up the bomb anyway.
Yep,
and three, she gives one of the best early game side quests in Fallout 3. So you have to do it if you're playing to be optimal in any sort of way. You have to do the Wasteland Survival Guide. It's just a fact.
Yeah.
So I have to deal with Moira every time, and she's not interesting.
No. Well, I honestly, I look at most of the NPC interactions. I think the only one that got me, what was it? Fallout. Oh gosh, was it 4? No, it would have been 3, I think. But it was going in. It was one of the zombie type characters that actually had a story to them. I can't remember the names at all, but it was something when you actually started talking to them, you're like, oh snap, you actually have a lot going on with you. That I was more intrigued with their story than probably most of the NPCs I ran into. And so
Brian Wilkes is more interesting than most of the NPCs in Fallout 3, but only if you leave him in the box and you don't find him a place to live, because Three Dog will chastise you for hours after that.
Is anybody going to help that poor boy?
Somebody bring him some food or something.
I remember that.
That's so good.
Yeah, see, those are the moments that you live for that I actually give Bethesda a ton of credit for, that they have so much going on and so much thought out for it. And they were trying to, it's so crazy because Fallout 76 to me is the answer to what people have been bitching about for years. I want to play a Fallout game with friends. Right? That's what everyone's bitching about. And I thought the little bit I got, other than my one big criticism that I had when I played the beta, was open mics. Nothing to do with Bethesda and their ability to create a game, but gosh darn, and hey Hando, looking at you. When you are playing anything with multiple people and there's conversation going on, get a headset and a headset mic at least. I don't expect you to have an audio board with a nice compressor mic in here so you can hear my lovely voice, but get a headset so that I don't have to hear my own voice reverberate back through, or let alone your kids in the background and your wife yelling at you.
Is a game really an online game if there's not some screechy 12-year-old boy talking about his favorite Fortnite dances and saying how he slept with your mom last night? Is it really?
Ken, it is okay if the idiot behind the mic is the one making the ruckus, because that's them just choosing to be dumb and being prima donna. It's when the background is making more noise than they are in the foreground. That's what bothers me. You know, it's when I was downstairs in the show and you'd hear my fan noise constantly. That kind of thing is what bothers me. And so, yeah, get a headset. But that was my first thing, because I was actually playing the beta coming out of the vault the first time, and it was weird because I kept hearing voices. People talking, and I was like, wait, am I in Discord? And I didn't notice it? Wait, what's going on? And the challenge was, it was the worst audio ever, because I swear someone had their laptop microphone or something, and I could hear
attached to their tractor.
Just, oh God, noise and dogs and I was like, I was getting so annoyed. Like, why am I hearing so much crap? What? And I was going through all of my, my various chat programs to try to figure out what was wrong. Yeah. Before I finally turned around in the world and saw somewhere through a wall a microphone icon or a speaker icon come up that someone was talking in game, and then I remembered, oh, that's right, Bethesda did this.
That's an audio setting now. You can turn that to be team only.
I found that
you can turn it off.
I found that so quick. Yeah, because I was like, oh hell no. Because I can see
here's another one that not everybody apparently knows about. You can set it to pacifist mode too. So, what? Yeah. So if you want to engage in PvP, the way you engage in PvP is you shoot another player, the other player shoots you back, and
now you're both.
A duel.
I was gonna say it's very similar to, honestly, my experience right now is WoW PvP, that you can run around, and when you're on a PvE server back in the day, or now with War Mode, that back in the PvP or PvE days, if you were walking around flagged as PvP, people could attack you, and once they attacked you, they got flagged. Similar sense, because what I've heard from some other people talking about Fallout 76, people can try to kill you. And if you're in pacifist, it'll do damage, but like negligible, to the point of I don't even care.
Mm-hmm. If you're in pacifist mode and you accidentally shoot somebody, you do no damage to them.
Oh,
and a little warning screen or a little thing will pop up and says, "Hey, by the way, you're in pacifist mode. You didn't do any damage to the other player."
Okay, so that's actually a step beyond what I'd heard, because even the regular fight, I want to say it won't start you to do full damage until you engage with them as well. Because I did hear from someone who was trying to just do their mission or something, and two other people were trying to grief him, and to try to get them so that he was in PvP, they kept trying to jump in front of his gunfire as he was taking out mobs to get them to, him to flag.
That happened to me by accident in one of the mob dense areas. Like, this guy who's 20 levels lower than me is running around trying to bounce in and out of cover because he's attacking stuff that's way higher level than he is. And so I used VATS to snapshot a mob, and then I went to scope right away to try and catch the mob behind.
Okay.
to catch the mob behind, and as I'm getting ready to line up the sniper shot, here comes the dude, like, right into the middle of my reticle, and it's like, well, that's going into the back of that dude's head. And there's not much I can do about that one.
Yeah.
And that's when the warning message came up. It's like, oh, you're in pacifist mode, so don't worry about it. Like,
that's good. So that you can honestly say I'm pacifist. I'm not here for PvP.
Yeah, it's and
So
I,
heard some
honestly, I don't
criticism of
know.
the system.
What was that, Ken?
I've heard about how I've heard some criticism about this system. I've heard that people were saying that it's a nice idea, but the problem is it's not as if there's a countdown or anything. It's not like one damage to one person, the other person shoots back, and it's one damage, and there's a countdown 3, 2, 1 or anything.
No.
It's more like you shoot somebody, and then they can wreck you when you're not looking. Is that true?
So what happens is when you shoot somebody and no one is flagged. So if you kill somebody in PvP or try to wreck their base, you become wanted.
Yeah.
And what happens when you get the wanted flag is everybody on the map can see you, but you can't see any of the other players on the map.
I do like that idea of a system. I love that idea.
Well, so the map is a really important resource because we need to talk about what, in my opinion, is the biggest design flaw of Fallout 76 in total. But so you shoot a guy, and you do massively reduced damage when you shoot the person. If that person then about faces and shoots you, they do full damage. So the person, especially if they're higher level than you, and especially at one of the five level increments where you can get more powerful gear, could about face with a really, really powerful, double-barreled shotgun and walk up to point blank range and go dunk dunk, and like if you can survive that, good on ya, and then PvP begins. So yeah, it is somewhat based on the honor system, which in a universe that is so sort of every person for themselves and was set up in the lore and the story and everything to be, it is you against the world, and the world is terrible. Like, the nuclear apocalypse is the least worst thing to happen.
That's the same
West
sort of thing as
Virginia.
that's the same thing as like zombie type films and games, right? It's like, oh, the zombies are terrible, but really it's the humans that are the worst.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I think that's kind of how everything translates when we look at, anything post-apocalyptic. It always turns into people suck.
Yeah, that's right, and that's the idea. But I had a couple of thoughts, and they ran into each other on the thought train. So I have a total derailment. Story. One of the things that I will say about the story of Fallout 76 thus far, as I have experienced it, in my opinion, and this is just one person's opinion. We see a larger amount of what I would consider genuinely human moments.
Okay.
So one of the things that you do in this game, again, spoiling my video, one of the things that you do in this game is you follow the Overseer. The Overseer leaves the vault before you do, and is the big MacGuffin for the first act.
And there's breadcrumbs throughout, because you basically wake up after, I think every Fallout's done this, a huge party the night before about getting out, and you happen to be the one that got drunk and slept in.
I relate to this very much. Or can relate. Would recommend. But one of the places where there's the Overseer has left caches in different places that has a bunch of supplies and items, and they all have a log. So there's this one place where there's this army camp that's essentially a robot-run boot camp. Well, all the robots are still running, but there are no humans to do boot camp.
Gotcha.
And there's an Overseer's cache in there. So you grab the Overseer's cache and you do the audio log, and then you do boot camp to become a private in the U.S. military.
Huh.
And the audio log is this just like 3 minutes of the Overseer purging.
Oh no.
Like a legitimate catharsis. Like, yes, I was the Overseer of the Vault, but now I'm also a private in the United States Army. What do I call myself? Am I Private Overseer? Am I Overseer Private? Like, I don't know. And to me, I had the same response as Wayne just then. Like, it's a legitimate human moment in the middle of this environment that's terrible.
Nice.
Like, and
No,
honestly, I would recommend trying to discover as much of the lore as possible, and then doing some of the mainline story quests, because as you discover the lore and you find these notes and you find these terminal entries with logs in them, and you find holotapes that have recordings of people on them, and you just there's this sense of everybody starts out and it's all hopeful, like the bomb's dropped, but it's not that bad.
Yeah.
And we're starting to rebuild and it's gonna be okay. And then there's this thing that happens and it all goes to hell and everybody gets hopeless.
Well, so that's
Everyone.
interesting. Well, because this being a prequel to essentially all the other Fallout games, because you're the first vault opened. And it's interesting because when I go out in the world, it is one of the most lush worlds I've ever seen in a Fallout. And it reminded me much more of an Oblivion or Skyrim type world. And since I walked out, I was like, there's green. What? And foliage everywhere and such. And I was actually really excited about that. But knowing that this was a prequel, I was like, something has to happen, because by the time you come out in every other Fallout, the world has gone more to pot and things are much worse. So that's interesting to hear. But I also agree, because I didn't mind following those breadcrumbs of the Overseer. I thought that was pretty interesting. But again, I also like the holotapes a ton, because I'll start listening to one as I continue to walk around in the world, getting that as my thing. Because that's one of the things I will note for almost anybody out there. My opinion is Fallout, any of the Fallout games from 3 up, you need to have an audio track running at some point. Either the background music from the various stations or a holotape or something, because just being in the world and hearing what's around you that's just world. But all of the story and the atmosphere is really coming from the audio that Bethesda provides, and it's so integral to the game experience.
There's a lot of flavor, and I don't know if you noticed this either. There are a few common elements between the soundtracks of Fallout 3, Fallout 4, and Fallout 76, but there are unique. There are songs in Fallout 3 that are not in Fallout 4.
Oh, yeah.
There are songs in Fallout 4 that are not in Fallout 3 or Fallout 76. And there are songs in Fallout 76 that are not in 3 and 4.
Absolutely.
And so they tried to do a reasonably good job of creating an Appalachia themed.
Yeah, they tried to make
track.
it regional, time frame wise, all those things together, and I love it, because that's one of my favorite things is when I first turn on one of the radio stations and hear what they're providing. Again, I also do the mod where I'll throw in additional music, just so, because once you do listen to it constantly, eventually you finally get the
once you heard it a
repeats.
few times.
There's only so many times you can listen to Bing Crosby across 3 Fallout games and go, yes. Lay that pistol down, babe. Lay that pistol down. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, exactly.
I was drinking beer in a cabaret, and boy, was I having fun.
But yeah. So actually, what I would like to find out from you, Octale, specifically, is how is the multiplayer experience? Because that's really the whole point of Fallout 76 compared to any of the previous.
It's like Fallout with more people. And I can see where the people who only played it multiplayer could levy the criticism that it's really annoying in the middle of doing main storyline things to have to wait around for somebody to listen to a holotape. And some of the holotapes are long.
Yes.
So for, you have a group of 4 people and 3 people have to sit around and wait while the fourth, listens to a 5-minute holotape. That's annoying.
That's dumb. I imagine that'll change with time.
Well, but that's also the
what would be a lot of fun is a year from now where you have 4 people that are in the, let's say, 90 to 110 range level wise, level 90
Gotcha.
to level 110, and you're dropping nukes on fissures and fighting, Scorch Beast queens for the best gear in the game. Like, if you're not doing any more real exploring and stuff, or if you're just exploring and you're not listening to holotapes and doing some of this more mundane type of stuff, which is, in my opinion, better done alone, then I think it'd be a lot of fun multiplayer.
okay.
Like 6, 8, 10 months from now, I think it would be a lot more fun than it was, a week ago at level 7, running through Morgantown Airport, because you're like, somebody sees a building they want to check out. Okay, now let's go over this way, but the quest marker is in the opposite direction.
Yep.
And I want to do the quest marker first, and then I want to explore because I want to get the EXPs and the survival related gear because I'm out of purified water, so I gotta have purified water. And if I finish the quest, I know I'll get some and stuff like that. So,
Well, it's so that's the fun thing for me. I understand the challenge of when you're actually trying to do the group thing, and thus everybody participate in the group. Hey, because when I played on the beta, one of the things I commented on to people is that I really enjoyed that I was able to I was doing quests on my own, running by myself. But afterward, or in some parts of it, I forget the quest there was, but there was one where I had to hold out in kind of the airport or something, and waves of zombies came in.
Oh, yeah, it's called, it's an event. I know,
Yeah.
I can't think of what it's called, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
But with that one, what was one of the coolest things that happened for me was I was doing it by myself and got through the first wave or 2 on my own fine, but it was starting to progressively get harder. And I was like, ooh, I don't know if I'll survive this. But it just organically, a bunch of people started showing up and helped me finish the quest. And I don't know if they were doing it for themselves, as they just happened to come into the same quest line or what, but it went from me standing on top of one of the little stairways by myself, defending everything, to at the end there were 4 or 5 of us there, and we succeeded. And I got my reward, and I was like, awesome.
Yeah, so the events are area activities. Like, somebody will go into an area, or an area is triggered in some fashion, and so they'll show up on your map as an event.
Okay.
And then you can travel to the event area, and it's a good way to earn some EXPs and caps and
weapons.
Water.
I love that you tend
like
to get weapon drops and stuff from a lot of those as well.
Yep. That is true.
But that was part of the thing that I liked in the multiplayer experience, because I was running around not knowing how the PvP worked. I was running around in the beta just where I went to some of the camps where a lot of people would show up when the Overseer drops or something like that. And there'd be other people there, and I'd look at them a little sketch, like, we cool? We cool? All right. And we'd all do our little crafting, do our little things, like, all right, peace. But if anything happened around us, we all kind of jumped in and just supported each other and went our own ways. And so for me, it actually felt like that actual wasteland. I've got my own interests, but I've come across other vault dwellers and, like, I got your back because we're all from the vault. And there's enough going on with not NPCs, but mobs, creatures in the world, that some of them are really tough. And it's nice to have people back you up.
Does it work in terms of other factions? Are there, like, groups of people that are players that are different from each other, like Alliance Horde type thing, or how does it work?
No, every player is a member of Vault 76. So everybody pops out of Vault 76 as a fresh-faced. I think you make level 2 when you're done inside the vault. So you pop out as a fresh-faced level 2 character. And it is very much presented in the same way that Fallout 3 and Fallout 4 were, where you walk out the vault entrance, it flashes white, all of a sudden world, go.
Yep.
And you have a quest marker because you're following the overseer or whatever, but you can ignore it. And I did the first time.
They say, like all good Bethesda games, go where you want.
Uh-huh. And I did. And then I realized that maybe at level 2 that was a mistake. And I about faced him with the way I was supposed to go.
As I said, it's similar because all even the little bots that start out there, it's like, oh, there's some little nothings, right? And then you realize I have 6 shots in the gun I found.
Yep. I have exactly 12 bullets.
Yep. It's like,
my 12
decision.
bullets are gone. Now it's just me and my machete.
Yes. Against a bunch of ranged bots. Nope.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not good. Not good.
Oh, I feel you. I did the same thing.
Yeah, it's it's a little strange. But so every there are factions. But again, everybody in this world is dead. So any quest giver is automated in some fashion.
Yeah.
Right? So I have run across more than one mayor that was a computer system.
Yes. That everything is automated, and so you're going still through the terminals and things like that to get all your quests and what's going on.
Or the computer system convinced the last couple of humans that were alive to wire him into the town's public address system so he can shout at you throughout the entire town wherever you're at.
Yep.
So it's a little, it's odd and off-putting, right? If all you've ever known is Japanese RPGs and MMOs and Bethesda Western RPGs, right? They're all driven by other real beings in the world, right? You may read a note that sends you off to someplace, but there's going to be a dude in a castle in Skyrim that's going to tell me to do a thing.
Yes.
And I'm going to go do that for him, and that may spawn 8 other side things for me to do, usually involve me becoming the Archmage of the Mages Guild and a Nightingale and 4 other things that have nothing to do with what I was supposed to be doing for the dude in the castle, but whatever. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Time has no relevance in the world of Skyrim.
I was going to say, that's one of my favorite things about any of the Bethesda games. It's like, it is urgent that you take care of this thing right now. And then you can squirrel and go after quests for like 100 hours before ever coming back to that plot line. Like
100 real-time hours,
yeah.
Which is God knows how long in-game, right? I mean,
yep.
Like, I really want to come back in a Bethesda game. I want to go off and explore and sort of be doing the main quest line, but sort of not.
Yep.
And then come back to the castle and have the guy go, dude, that was like 15 years ago.
That would be... No, I actually would love to see something like that happen.
Couldn't you have gotten off your ass before now?
I swear I have done some game, and I can't recall where, that did something like that actually paid attention to time and came and said, nah, that person's dead. Thanks. Because that would be epic. You know, it's almost a sense that you don't need the actual timers in game, but to make it real.
So you don't get paid.
No. They sit there and be like, please, you did nothing for us. That'd be so good.
Like, thanks for doing this really awesome thing, but the guy who contracted you is not alive anymore. And if you look at the fine print under paragraph 7, subsection D, it says, in the event of the death of quest giver, all rewards shall default to the treasury.
That would be great. It's like, we appreciate you doing that, but Bob? Oh no, Bob's dead. Good luck.
Bob is dead.
You go find his corpse.
Oh no,
we'll
we've
find
both
some
got
coins.
that, Mayor. We've gone Republican now. We don't care about that anymore.
Yeah. No, that would actually be great because, God, the challenge of like constantly having massive loads of quests in your to-do list. That
Suddenly you're prioritizing. Suddenly you need Monday.com in order to keep track of your list.
This is what your This is what your quest schedule looked like before Monday.com.
Yeah, this is what it looks like now.
Oh gosh, I really have to take care of this one first, because otherwise, Polly, she's gonna.
I'm not gonna get my. I'm not gonna give my double-headed acts of fisting.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be an interesting mechanic in a game, and how that could be managed. I don't know, but that would be.
Oh, can you imagine what YouTube would do to that? Like,
yes.
I can just hear all the power fantasy dorks say like, oh, I lost my really good item because I wasn't fast enough on the draw, and like I need video games to make me powerful. Yeah, you know what? I'm just gonna do this because that way I won't have to do it on a YouTube video later.
Okay.
If you're one of those people who hears the word power fantasy relative to video games and sort of nods your head, stop what you're doing. Close YouTube. Find a book from one of the following subjects: physics, math, computer science, aerospace engineering, electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, chemistry, material science, one of those 8. Read that book. Decide you're going to be good at that thing or not. Like, if it's not your jam, pick up another one. You have 8.
Yeah.
One of those things is gonna click with you. Read that book. When you find the thing that's gonna click with you, decide to get really good at that thing. Then go to school, get good grades, and get a job in that field. And I guarantee you, once you've designed your first ambulance, you will never worry about the power fantasy in a video game ever again. See also, putting things in space, teaching the next generation of computer programmers, being a safety engineer. Be that
Oh
person.
gosh. Whew. Yeah.
That was a speech that made me happy on the inside.
I'm just saying, if your only skill is to be able to serve lattes, then you need to feel powerful in a video game. I can tell you, after having put a couple of things in space and designing an ambulance, and again, not to brag, but I'm gonna brag, and essentially having the ability to touch almost every kilometer of railroad line in the sovereign state of Norway in some way, I don't need to feel powerful in video games. I'm plenty powerful as it is.
So here's the thing, right?
I think the point is that video games should be an escape from reality, but they shouldn't be a replacement, right? I mean, if you're doing it to have a bit of a kick and enjoy, just like you would with a film or a TV show or a book, that's great. But if you're doing it as an actual replacement because you have a psychological need, you need therapy, bro. You don't need a video game.
Well, yes, I think that's well summed up, Ken.
Well, and honestly, there's games for everyone out there, but guess what? I also personally appreciate games that require a challenge, because I feel better about myself when I've accomplished something, when I've been able to rise to an occasion and be able to show that I have the skill, the ability to learn or something, and adapt to whatever it is I'm doing to thus succeed. To me, that feels far better than, if I want something that makes me just epic the whole way through, then by all means go play one of the some type of romance novel thing that's really just a story that go play a Squaresoft game that is more a movie than it is an actual adventure or something, and maybe has some quick time events.
If you want to feel powerful, yeah, perfect. If you want to feel powerful in a video game, go load up Final Fantasy VII and do the date sequence with Barrett.
I don't get the reference.
That's powerful. Also stunning and brave.
That's the thing. There are
that got a little preachy there for a second. I'm sorry. We're supposed to be having fun.
No, but it goes back to that, right? There are games for every experience, and heck, go play Candy Crush, right? But I appreciate games that have challenge, have some barriers to entry, things I love, and I wish I could remember some specific instances, but I know I've experienced some games that you could fail and continue the story. that it wasn't one of those ones where if you failed, you thus had to load your saved game and try again until you did the exact sequence that got you to succeed in that moment. I like the games that have multiple outcomes, but the overall world continues because of whatever you did. Those are the best to me, because I may feel bad.
Pretty much any CYOA, choose your own adventure game on Android or iOS, so many good ones out there, they have that exactly. They're like, hey, do you want to turn left or right in the road? Oh, you chose left? Well, your mum dies, and you've lost your your little pinky. But you know what? That you can continue on the story and see what happens. And it's fun. I love that about those.
You mean like every Telltale
really
game?
Feels like you're being... yeah, they honestly are great, by the way. I really do recommend them.
But yeah, I appreciate designers of games who allow people to have a more realistic interaction, because it's one thing to have that experience that's so linear that you are always the hero, that your outcome is predetermined. You just have to do the proper wickets to get the expected, already pre-programmed outcome. For me, it is much more entertaining when people provide the variety, and I think Bethesda games do this a lot, in the sense of just you can go explore and do whatever the hell you want. Now, I do wish, like we were talking about, the idea that things would expire and just be done. You'd be like, oh, well. I love the idea that, nope, my priority was doing this thing over there, so I completely missed out on that thing. Maybe that'll be my replayability. I'll do a character, and then next time I'll go do that.
Yes.
Yeah, so the events are kind of that.
Okay.
So, perfect example, I had to go access a terminal in a mine, and then I had to go kill a guy at the bottom of the mine. So I access the terminal, I make my way through the rest of the mine, kill the guy, grab his stuff, make my way back out. As soon as I pop up, boom, event started. I have to protect these automated robot miner things while they dig up uranium. Now, I wasn't interested in doing that because thought I was going to be able to get a handful of story quests done all at once, because nobody was in my particular area of the map.
Gotcha.
So I was going to cause the mobs to spawn, which is a big deal in Fallout 76. We'll get to that in a sec.
Okay.
So this thing pops up. It has a timer, like 11 minutes, and it's just counting down. And the first thing I have to do is talk to one of the Robotrons, to get the thing started. But I didn't do that. I went to the train station to trade and sell stuff and break stuff down and do all that stuff. So I get outside of the quest area, because these things are area-based, right? And it goes, oh, you're leaving the quest area, you're not going to get a reward. And it counts down, and you're like, whatever. And the timer gets to 0, and that quest disappears off your quest tracker. It's just gone.
Nice.
So it's not exactly what we were talking about, but it's kind of.
But it has a piece of that, which is great, because it gives you, heaven forbid, some consequence to action, not necessarily a negative one, but just a thought that, oh, there were other things happening in the world that I didn't see because I'm doing this. And I think that is brilliant, because it makes the world feel bigger. And I'm sorry, in a way, to those people who feel like, just because I got access to this time, I should be able to experience everything all the time, no matter what, and not miss anything. Whatever. There are other games for that.
Hey, exactly. There are games for that, right? It's not as if every game has to be like that.
Right?
Absolutely.
And so
true.
I love designers who go so far as to make that a real aspect, where I can feel that there is more to the world than what I am experiencing right now. Just like in the fact that I don't have to be the one and only hero in the world. I like what it makes it a little more balanced, where there are others doing things. I am doing my part, but there's more going on. I love that. And so that's interesting. So you were saying, Octale, about you were going to get to it, some of the mechanics about...
Okay.
Yeah.
So the map that Fallout 76 takes place in, West Virginia, is enormous. The estimation is it's approximately 4 times bigger than Fallout 4.
Nice.
Now, that does mean in some places there's a bit of empty space, and it does take time. And it does take time to traverse from town to town when you haven't discovered things yet.
Okay.
So obviously the big cities like Morgantown and Charleston are a little bit more densely packed. There's a town way in the southeast called Watoga that was built by robots, and it's very densely packed with places of interest. But essentially, take this map and split it in half. The west half of the map is the newbie area.
Okay.
Levels 1 to 10, level 10 to 25, level 25 to 35, and those are the approximate mob level ranges.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? Okay. Now the right half of the map. The middle third from north to south, the whole way, is an area called Savage Divide. Its mob level range is level 15 to 99.
Woo, there's some variety.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yep. And then on the east side of the map is a place called the Mire. That's level 30 to 99. And then in the southeast, where Watoga is called Cranberry Bog, and it's level 35 to 99.
Ooh.
So, and those are approximate, because on the low end it's like a soft cap, and on the high end it's more of a hard cap. So if you're like level 8 and you wander into the Ash Heap, the level 25 to 35 area, it's going to spawn some lower level things, something in the 15 to 18 range, for you to kill if you're the first person to go there after the respawn timer is up. And that's sort of the big problem. Where you have to... I made level 40 yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah, I made level 40 yesterday. Okay? I have explored about half of the Savage Divide, and I never feel safe there. Because... Well, so you wander... This perfect example. I was in my 30s when I did this, and I went to this place called the White Spring Golf Course. And you just go in, it's being guarded by a bunch of robots that are all in the level 30 range. I was level 30, the robots don't con red to you, so I walked in and started exploring the golf course.
Okay.
No problem. I go to a couple of buildings, I see some dudes, I shoot the dudes, they're all in the 20s. Like, it's all very mundane, typical Fallout 76 type stuff. I throw up the scope, I headshot a dude, his head explodes, I get some EXPs, no problem. I get to the main building. Shooting guys, no big deal. Then all of a sudden there's a giant group of undead and a level 64 rad scorpion.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
I'm in my early 30s.
Yeah.
I can kill the Scorched easily enough. I know where their heads are at, and they're kind of squishy. They're low hit point, sort of cannon fodder type enemies. But a rad scorpion that's 30 levels over my level? Not so much.
No.
So I did the only thing that somebody at level 32 going up against something level 64 is going to do. I died. And managed to respawn and sneak my way in there, and then check the map, and oh, by the way, there was a level 68 guy that had just started wandering through the area and had caused everything to respawn. So I got a whole bunch of respawn way above my level. So the problem is, when you get to level 30 or so, you've done most everything on the left side of the map. Like, I am pretty much done with the first run through of most of the locations on the left side of the map. It's time for me to go to the right side of the map and start doing stuff. And I've been to Watoga, and I've been through some of the areas in the south of the Savage Divide, but only when I know that nobody's been through there. Because you go to one of those places and all of a sudden there are level 68 Scorched. I'd like that's not a good time. And I don't know if it's designed to induce people like strangers to group up together.
Gotcha.
I'm like, oh, we're level 32 and level 33, and the enemy AI doesn't really recognize multiple enemies very well, so you can kind of put them in a crossfire, and you're doing double the damage. And if everybody is vaxing appropriately and aiming for weak spots and stuff, yeah, you can probably take out something 25 levels higher than your group. Like
That's pretty cool.
That's not on the line. I don't think that's so terrible.
Yeah, they're encouraging multiplayer play.
I think the level ranges could be a little tighter than 65, 70, and 85.
Well, so I always liked when games would have, in general, levels, but the obvious, like, boss character or hive leader, queen, whatever, that as you got closer to their nest, it makes sense to me to randomly run into that very high-level creature. It's like, ooh, well, that was bad. Don't want to go over there. But outlying that area, have it be a little more manageable. And thus, kind of any area, I like a concentration where at the outskirts you have the lesser levels that you can deal with. And as you go closer to whatever that nexus is, it gets harder and harder. I mean, they've been doing that in MMOs forever, where you have that elite mob that is the boss you will eventually have to go take care of. But in the meantime, there's a bunch of trash around them I can deal with.
Right, and I'm fine with that too. I would just like it if it's going to be intermixed in that way. I want an indication that it's going to be intermixed in that way before I go to a place that I'm not supposed to go to.
I have, it goes back and forth, because I have always liked, in a way, when I've ended up somewhere I probably shouldn't have. Now, normally I know that I'm out exploring, and I know that I'm kind of off the beaten path, and so it doesn't bother me when I, get educated that I have made a bad decision. I don't like to be blindsided by it, and I don't like it where I almost can't avoid it. And I appreciate where I run it. I see it like, let me backstep a few steps and maybe go around all this nonsense. The classic, what is it? The super mutant, like, bases and stuff like that you run into, right? You see that, you're like, oh, hey, and you're like, ooh, not so much. That's death. I'll come back to you later. And
By the way, wouldn't it have been a great piece of flavor in Fallout 3 if there had been a giant sign in the mall where mall was spelled MAUL in blood?
Like written over some other thing?
Welcome to the mall, and it's written in really terrible penmanship. Like there was one.
Yeah, like the R's are backwards and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like there was one super mutant who was still smart enough to write and decided to tear open a meat bag and write with the meat on some boards or whatever, and like welcome to the mall.
Well, and that would have made sense because that place, when I first arrived at the mall, had a different feel than so much of the game, because you have to come up into the mall essentially, and you're like, ooh, this is a dangerous place to be hanging out. And so that would have been really fun.
Yeah, that would have been a nice piece of flavor.
All right, now we are running towards the end of the show, and it's amazing how quickly a fun time goes. But
yeah, it's been good.
I do want to ask for you, Octale, just because it came up and I haven't had the opportunity. So Hellgate London is now out again on Steam.
You're kidding me?
Really?
Oh my god, I love that game.
Me too.
I really did.
However,
somewhat infamously.
However, it's only single player.
What?
Really?
Yeah.
What's the point?
Well, they've balanced it and adjusted the game to work as a single-player game now. So, because they don't have the servers and everything else that happened with it, and I enjoyed the world of Hellgate London when we were all running around together in it.
Good, yeah. Classes are fun too.
I'm looking at the Steam page now. This is Hellgate London. It's like $10,
right?
Developer is T3 Entertainment. Publisher Handbitsoft.
So basically, whoever took ownership of it, they just repackaged it and rigged it so that it will work as a single-player experience. But otherwise, it is Hellgate London. I said that because I have both sides, where one, I think that could be a lot of fun, especially for the price. But two, a little disappointed because if they had just adjusted it so that it could be 4-person co-op, I think it would have been exactly what everyone wanted it to be.
Four-person LAN play would have been really dope.
Right? Something
Or
like that.
four-person peer share or whatever.
Something.
Whatever multiplayer variant you want to use. Yeah.
So I've got it mixed on it. I'm like excited because it came back out and I saw it was like, this is Hellgate London. We were so jazzed about that. But at the same time, like,
I'm getting that.
But it was the multiplayer thing that was so good. So I wasn't sure if you guys had seen that.
That'd be so much fun doing that again as a little group.
So, but silver lining, the best mini game in the history of ARPGs is theoretically back.
Oh,
right, and available for $10. Yeah, the icon mini game. Remember, like down in the lower right-hand part of the screen, there were 3 icons, and they were usually they were either like a creature type or a damage type or a weapon type.
Okay.
That you had to do, and they had numbers inside. So you had to get, for example, if it was a flame and it had 12 in it, you had to get 12 fire kills with fire damage.
Oh, I do remember that. Yeah,
and it would count down to 1, and then it would fill in. If you filled in all 3 of the icons, loot would just explode out of the ground.
Oh, that's
Every time
right.
you did it, and the icons would blink, and then they would change. So you always you had to hold on to maybe a weapon that did a couple of different damage types, or you know, hold on to a weapon that did a damage type that you weren't necessarily into, just so that you could fill that icon to get it out of the way, so you could go back to using your main weapon.
Gosh, I remember that.
I love that thing. And because Hellgate London got crapped on by everybody, it died to death, and nobody's gonna pick up, you know, features or systems or whatever from a game
introduced.
that failed.
God, yeah, because that kind of thing would actually work so well in like a Borderlands game or all these other ones, because that would fit the kind of gameplay it already has.
Imagine Borderlands with an icon minigame where Marcus pops up and goes, "Hey, why don't you kill a bunch of people with pistols?"
Because you can have it from each of the major gun manufacturers. That'd be so brilliant, because I can imagine Torque just being like, "Yeah, you gotta kill everything just fast. Everything, explode everything."
Yeah, exactly.
With the accompanying voiceover. Oh, that'd be wonderful. No, you're right. Good? Oh, that'd be so good.
And no ARPG since Hellgate London has done it, and in my opinion, the reason why is because Hellgate London ultimately failed. I did get my money's worth for the Founders Pack, though.
Which is great.
The servers were alive exactly 15 months, so I got my exactly $150 of subs out of it.
Oh, no. That's right. Because I remember when everything settled down and was shut down, all that. But no, I did want to throw it out there. I wasn't sure if you guys were tracking, but I saw when it got launched, and I was just like, it's kind of like the little under-the-radar kind of things that came out. So Hellgate London coming back as a single-player experience. Another one was that the new Leisure Suit Larry came out, and I think a lot of people missed that.
I saw that too.
I kind of want to check it out, and it's actually a reasonable price. I think that one's around $30 as well.
I'm not gonna check it out until the Anita Sarkeesian video on it comes out.
Oh God.
Is she still active? I thought she was like done for. I didn't think she did anything anymore.
In my world, she does not exist anymore.
Oh, if only she got to stand in front of the UN and say being beheaded for witchcraft in Riyadh and being told you suck on the internet is the same. Thing. Yeah.
God.
Yeah. And that exists on video. You can watch that in all of its glory.
It's amazing the equivalency that people try to make.
Yeah. No, so I jest. She's reviewing TV shows or something now. Like she milked video games dry like Jack Thompson, and she's moved on to other.
People realized she actually had no real credibility or talent in video games, and so put her back in the box.
I'll tell you what, we're over time, but I just got to tell you, knowledge of video games is massively overrated when you're a writer or video producer about video games. Because I saw a video on YouTube from somebody with Kotaku and IGN in their timeline that didn't know what Tapper was.
What? They didn't know Beer Tapper? Come on. That's all right. I say this, and yet we are in, we especially you, Octale, and I, are of a generation, as we know, that gamed in a place in a way that kids these days will never know. And so,
Yeah.
That's true.
The,
A lot of it is generational. Absolutely.
the Mistress of Giggles was just in here, and she says hi to both of you.
yay!
Hey!
Well, you definitely let Mog know that we are looking out for her as well, and
Oh, show.
so
Oh, sure.
awesome. All right, but yeah,
No, so yeah, in Fallout, it was a Fallout 76 video. It's to tie this whole thing off. It was a Fallout 76 video, and in the first terminal is a holotape of Tapper that you can play.
Oh,
It's
I
called
played the heck out of that. I think
It's called Nuka-Cola Tapper, but
Yep.
it's still Tapper.
it's funny because
Right?
I played it in the beta. I was surprised how long I played it.
And she was like, "What is this? What is this game? I don't know. What are you supposed to do?" It's like, you have Kotaku and IGN in your byline. How do you not know an infamous arcade game? Because depending on when you found it, it was either called Tapper or Root Beer Tapper.
Yep.
Because you can't let kids in the arcade
What
serve
beer?
even virtually.
Yep, I remember all that. Oh man.
So, as we're finding out, I can't name three video games when I'm on Colbert, and I don't know what Root Beer Tapper is. Knowledge of video games is massively overrated.
Well, come on, we know this is true because you just look at any of the main popular streamers on anything like Twitch. Because I mean, look at us who have the history, but you go to all those top streams and it's just people that are just more the personality of someone who's going to say ridiculous things or act mostly like asshats to others that apparently all the kids jump around and that's what they want to see.
You mean when the Destiny 2 directory decided to screw the pooch and tell all of us that didn't raid that 8 upgrades a week was a step in the right direction?
Well, it's
You mean
almost
those
Guys,
people?
I'm afraid I have to leave because I actually have another meeting, funnily enough. And I'm now 5 minutes late, so I gotta run.
Oh,
Okay,
thank you, Ken. Sorry that we've gone over, but as always, good show.
Sorry,
sir.
you guys
We'll let
please
you
go ahead. Lovely to see you again, or hear from you again, Octale.
Yeah,
Thanks
good
for the
to
show,
see you
Wayne.
again,
Bye,
too.
everybody.
Yep. Bye, Ken.
Bye, Ken. I
No,
gotta make plans to go see that dude on his island.
what, for Ken?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, so the funny part is because I know you're heading back here in the near term or some point around here. Ken is actually coming this direction soonish, or for the New Year's time frame with Kitten Features. They're going to Vegas.
Oh,
They're going to Vegas.
I'm gonna just miss him. I'm flying back to Oslo for New Year's.
Gotcha. Well, it's funny too because I actually was telling him, "Hey, we should totally meet up." He's like, "Kitten Features would kill me." It was this is our time. I was like, "Yeah, but you're going to be on my side of the pond. Come on."
But I'm part of us too.
Well,
What about me?
so it's funny because the one time when I actually went out and visited them in Scotland, I had to purposely time myself to arrive the day after Christmas because Christmas was going to be their first Christmas together as a married couple. I was like, all right, I have to respect that. But then I'll come the day after. So I was trying to work a similar deal when knowing they were heading out. Like, oh, no, just come back on the way past or I'll come the last day out there and we'll hang out. Nope. Selfish Wayne.
A little bonus show X for everybody. My mom retires in March.
Wow.
Yeah.
My parents
And,
are close.
Yeah. My dad has been retired for a while. And my mom retires and they are moving
Oh,
to Las Vegas.
I was gonna ask. Ha ha.
This was a long and difficult. I'm not going to take full credit for manipulating them. I'm only taking 30% credit for
Gotcha.
manipulating them into moving to Vegas.
You have highlighted opportunities that only exist in Las Vegas, in Nevada.
I simply said to my mom, who likes to gamble, that if she were to live in Vegas, there would not be any winter, there would not be any humidity,
Yeah.
and there would be gambling. And
All
so-
things that she's a proponent of?
Central America morphed into Florida, morphed into not Florida. It's now turned into Las Vegas, and so that is happening. We're actually driving a load of crap. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say crap. A load of stuff from the house in Wisconsin to the condo in Vegas.
Oh, nice! You're making a road trip to transport all the old memorabilia.
Yeah. So it's going to be, and we're not going through the Rocky Mountains because I'm not going through the Rocky Mountains in December.
What?
I know, crazy.
When we've had the most snow we've had in the Rockies in like the last, 10 years almost already this year.
I'm really glad you just said that, so I don't have to defend my choice when we finally get on.
No, absolutely letting you know, because down here in town, it's been normal winter, like 40s, 50s, but dry. The mountains have been pounded. We had the first all ski slopes doing something before Thanksgiving that I've seen in almost a decade, with already like a 70-inch plus base for skiing.
Oh my God.
Yarp. Like ridiculous snow in the mountains.
Hello. And, like February bases in
November. It is ridiculous. So yes, you're making a probably wise decision.
Yeah, the first couple hours are going to be bad, but as soon as we get to Kansas City, it's going to be fine. We're going down into Oklahoma and then west.
Yes, gotcha. Ozarks and then west.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah. Kansas City, OKC, desert, and then Vegas. So it should be good, and it'll be fine. The weather's gonna be bad, like I said, for the first couple of hours, and then after that, it's gonna be fine. It's gonna warm up. So
that should be a good trip.
It is gonna be a good trip, and we're gonna be in Vegas for Sunday night, Monday night, and Tuesday night. So I already called my shot with my dad. I told him we're gonna watch football on Sunday night, we're gonna watch football on Monday night, and then we're gonna watch basketball on Tuesday night because I got to get him ready to go for the modern NBA because I'm going to a basketball game on the 29th right before I leave.
Nice.
To come back. Well, Giannis Antetokounmpo is going to be in the top 3 for MVP this year.
Ooh.
So, he's guys like 28, 14, and 5. Like it's the stat line is retarded. It's Anthony Davis and him right now. Like with that kind of stat line, it's just ridiculous. So, I mentioned to my dad back in like October, it's like, are you watching any basketball? You should watch the Bucks this year because they're going to be really good. And apparently I overdid it because they were like, you know what, that's a good present for young son. So
nice.
We got tickets to a Bucks game while I'm there too. So
no, that's going to be a ton of fun. Well, especially because you're coming back, and as much as overseas, and they have. I say overseas, where you're at now, and they have their sports and such like that. They're not the same sports we celebrate.
No.
He goes,
no, they're not. No, they're not. And I probably talked about this, but at the time of the Olympics.
Okay.
One thing that you might, if you were remotely a sports fan of any type at all, be in Norway during the Winter Olympics.
Ooh.
Because it's awesome. And there's a Norwegian cross-country skier.
Okay.
Whose last name is Klæbo. And I watched him do one of the cross-country skiing finals, and he destroyed the soul of the Russian guy who was ahead of him for the first lap.
Oh, no.
Because the way this course went, there was this nasty uphill, and the Russian got out of the gate really quick and went up the first uphill pretty quick. Klæbo went up way faster. Klæbo made up most of the time that he was behind the rest of the lap, and they got to that uphill, and I'm not kidding you, Wayne. Klæbo beat him by 30 seconds up the hill.
Oh, geez. Ooh.
Yeah.
That's like having the energy just Russian to sprint
dude,
it.
looked like he was going backwards. And
Ouch.
Clavo got done going up the hill, and they cut to the downhill on the other side, and Clavo is tucked and doing his
cruising.
thing. And I just turned to I was at the military base. They were watching it, and I just turned to the military guys next to me and said, Clavo just destroyed that guy's soul. He's done. Yeah, you're never going to hear from that guy again.
Oh, ouch.
Just unbelievable. The national sport of Norway, 10N15, is drinking.
Nice.
That is the national sport.
You would think of that being like German or something, but Norway,
No. So only the weekend they get paid.
Oh.
Only the weekend they get paid. Every other weekend, nobody has enough money to go drinking. So that one weekend where everybody gets paid, there's quite a bit going on.
So it's funny because I do remember that
cross country skiing, biathlon, ski jumping, downhill, any of the winter sports, not ice hockey, and not really figure skating, but any of the skiing winter sports, the Norwegians tend to be pretty good at. Curling too.
Oh, come on, that's not just Canadian?
No.
Oh, that's good. Well, it's funny, too, because I remember when I was in Norway that when I did go drinking for, I forget the name of the day now, for just after Rus, and how much drinks were there.
Were you here for 17th of May?
Yeah, when I went out and visited, because I had just missed you.
Yeah.
And I went out
National Dagen.
Yeah, and I got to see Mog during that, and the day that I spent before going to go see Mog was in Öresund for Rus. And so it was great. But one of the things, I had met a group of people that we went drinking together. And I remember I made such an inroad with just people saying, whoa, this crazy American. Because we were at a bar and there's a cute gal who was kind of like, hey, come with my group. And I bought her a drink. But because it was at like the regular bar and not doing the good math with my kroner at the time, I bought us each drinks. And I swear that cocktail for each of us was over like $20 each.
Yeah.
Compared to U.S. standard. And so, I remember her eyes just widening like, you bought me a drink? And I was like, well, you brought me out with your friends and I'm not wandering the streets alone. Yes. And then at later point, we made it into some underground little local bar thing where she bought me a drink back, but it was some little bottle of something that might have cost, equivalents of like $5 or something. Like they're what the locals were drinking, right?
Yeah.
And so I do recall the idea of the difference in cost for going out. Very different. It's like when I go back to Nebraska and beers are $2 versus here where they're $5.
God, when I was in college, I used to buy Old Milwaukee for 75 cents.
Oh my gosh, at a bar?
Yeah.
See, those are the things I try to remember, because the one time I went out with Earthweaver to go drinking, and we were buying mixed drinks for under $5, and I was just like, you can do that? I got a Long Island for like $4? What?
No. My ages 21 to 23 were me in these, small town bars in Northwest Wisconsin. Take a dollar bill, slap it on the bar, and yell blue or red, and have a can of Old Mill or Old Mill Light with a quarter on top.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Like a beer and change. Yep. Sliding right down the bar. It's like, all right.
I say, last time I've done that was when I was in Mexico years ago in Cabo, and they had a swim-up bar where they had dollar Dos Equis.
Yeah.
Dos Equis for $1 at the swim-up bar, and I was like, well, here's $10. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. I miss those days. What's funny is you were talking about...
When we were at the patio at Vidara, in the summer, they did buckets of summer shandy for $25, like 5-bottle buckets of summer shandy for $25. Now, $5 beer at the second or third poshest place on the strip. Okay,
that's
like I can
doable.
I can hold my nose and sort of handle that. But,
oh no. Well, and also you were talking about how your folks are retiring and finally moving out. My folks are in the same mindset of doing so here towards the end of this year, beginning of next. My father is finally fully retiring. And their goal is not to necessarily go somewhere specifically warm. They're doing the nomad life. They're going to sell everything they own and buy an RV and just travel. Apparently.
Are they gonna do like the minimalist thing, or are they just gonna?
Oh, I don't know. They're going to pick up one of these ridiculously large RV bus type things. So what they have will be there. Plus, my father says he needs space to have his Harley on the back for a toy.
Yeah, of course. Remember Michael from the podcast meetup?
Yeah.
In Denver?
Yep.
He moved out to Dallas and started doing startup tech company stuff out there. He's doing minimalism. They have an RV and they go like campground to campground and they just park for a couple of months and eat meals that are like $2 a person because it's like diced chicken and lentils or something. Like, I mean, great, good on you.
Yeah.
Like, if you can reduce your per day cost to like $4 a day, you can do literally any job and come out ahead.
That is how you retire, right? That is how you can make it. Yeah. You can live forever off that. No,
Sure.
I'll be curious to see because I don't know yet where my parents plan on like situating themselves. I'm sure they will visit me for a time, but because they have grandkids, I figure that's where their focus is. But it just reminded me of that when it was the, parents are getting to that point and how I'm considering what do I do?
They're going to spend 8-9 months a year south of the Mason-Dixon line, I bet.
Absolutely. I would imagine. They've been in Nebraska for years now with the real winters. I say real, not compared to Wisconsin, but like there's humidity, so the snow stays. And I'm just like, man. Anyhow. So, all right. No, Octale, it has been amazing having you on the show today.
I appreciate it. I'm sorry I derailed all of your
No,
topics.
you didn't. No, I mean, all I was going to talk about is like installing some stuff in my house and being boring and like, that I own a home and all the things you have to do to maintain it. I say that at the same time, I'm waiting on, as a teaser for maybe next week, I'm waiting on 3 6 terabyte, Seagate Enterprise drives to arrive in a couple days.
Oh, God.
Because I'm finally building out my NAS. And so I have FreeNAS installed on my dual Xeon Super Micro board or computer server that I had bought a little while back. And below it, I've got a 15-bay, 3.5-inch RAID controller set up. So that I'm hoping to start filling that out to have local storage. All because my I finally pulled the trigger because my main photos drive decided to disappear on me from my server. So I need some on-site backup as well as off-site. No, it may be recoverable. I just haven't dug into it, but I'm getting reports from my backup servers from Backblaze saying, hey, we haven't seen this drive for like 14 days. After 30, we delete the stuff that we have backed up. So I need to, note. Because it's meant to be a recovery service, not a long-term storage.
Aha!
So little things like that. And ever since CrashPlan decided to get rid of its residential unlimited stuff and go strictly business, Backblaze is probably the best offer out there. Anyhow, for people that have more storage than what most people have, and I am one of them. So, yeah. Anyhow, with that, though, I think it's time for us to end the show so that I can get off and do some, for me, Pokemon hunting, since there's an event going on this weekend, and I should probably eat something and not just have alcohol today. So
that's probably a good idea.
Little things like that.
Yeah.
And so I will do some of that, but Octale, you are always welcome to join us if ever you're up and around and here to join and have discussion. Happy to have you. You are original show Xer / back in everything we've done. So
yeah, I will take you guys up on that. I always feel a little guilty about crashing your party because I mean it is your party and but it's you do your show and
I tell people
from time to time and
I tell people all the time. I can't imagine people always want to hear about my life. Shoot. They get to hear that every week. It is so much more interesting when I get to talk to other people about what they're doing.
Hey, wait, you can say hi to Wayne live on the air.
As well as to the listeners. Wayne. Hey! As well as everyone who's listening in who is much happy to hear from.
I didn't want to put her under too much pressure, so if I say it's just you, then she won't,
do the classic bottle up like when I had Copy on the show last week and all of a sudden she's like, yes.
Not that she's ever done that, but she did spend the first 6 shows that she was a permanent guest host laughing.
Which thus the nickname. Yes. Well,
Yes,
admittedly, when you're around entertaining people like that who...
We're all idiots.
Hey, apparently that's the kind of humor you like.
This is the kind of humor I like. There's a reason I married that girl.
Yes, she is wonderful. All right.
Yes.
No,
All
thank
right.
you for joining us. It's been a lovely time. I do really appreciate your insight in Fallout 76. I believe that people are not giving it a fair shake and are listening to the hype versus actually understanding the game that Bethesda released. So
Part of the problem is they listen to the hype, and I don't do that. I don't listen to E3s. I don't read vapid pre-release.
there are very
crap on your favorite gaming website. Like, I don't do any of that. Like, Fallout 76 is released. Okay, it's Fallout, right? Yeah. Does it have the same systems as the games that came before it? Basically.
What did
Sounds
you
like
expect?
a good time to me.
Yeah.
Am I gonna get 60 hours out of it at least?
Right? I just
$1 an hour.
I put it out there there are so many videos, and you have to. I hope that people take the time, like with any information they, consume, to look at the source and think about what their goal is with what they're producing, because there are so many things people put out there that are just clickbait. Essentially, I just need the links, and I want more numbers, and therefore I'm going to say this title, or I'm going to,
Oh man! If you want to see a and I just get the side swipe of this, but if you want a kind of scuzzy, unethical bit of YouTube business stuff, look at the makeup and fashion community on YouTube.
Ooh, gosh.
Just start digging into that and looking at it. It is. Woo!
I can only imagine.
It is on another level. Okay. This is the third time we've said goodbye. This one will stick.
Yep, that works.
So, thank you for inviting me on, dude.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it. It's always fun to come on and run my mouth for a couple of hours and bounce around in the chair and wave my arms, even though nobody can see me. So, I do appreciate it very much.
Absolutely wonderful having you on. So with that, everybody, thank you for listening to another episode of Show X. We're on every week from 2 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. GMT. You can follow us on all our various medias, from Twitter to our Facebook page, where you'll see the whole big community of people that share a bunch of memes and things like that are all about gaming and geek and such. You can check us out on our Reddit, on Show X on Reddit, VTW Show X, and check out all the things and join the discussion there. We'd love to have more people add to the gaming soundtrack of life that we have. I think it's on Spotify that you're able to go in there. We have a link on Reddit. Add some of your favorite gaming titles in there so that everybody can be listening to music together. But with that, check us out again next week. Send in your emails to the show at showx@vtwproductions.com. We'd love to hear your geek, what you've been up to, and anything that you'd like to have us talk about, or any responses to things that we bring up. So maybe you disagree and you think Fallout really is trash and you need to let us know why. Please do, and we will discuss. You'll be wrong, but we'll discuss. All right. So thank you for that, and we'll catch you again next time. Thank you again, Octale. Have a good week, everybody. And with that, it is time to say the zombies. So
Goodbye. See you in the next zombie.